Good afternoon, folks. This is the second voting meeting of the Expanded Budget Committee of Tompkins County Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee. This is October 6th, 2025, and we're here in Chambers, and we're going to be taking up our proposed amendments that we have at this point. Look to County Administration. Are there any preliminary comments, or we just go ahead?
We
Yes,
can proceed.
go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you, Corsa. Now, I'm going to head down the list, but if someone wants to move something before that, to stick your hand up. I see a hand up from Shauna Black.
Thank you very much. I would like to move one that wasn't actually on our schedule for tonight, but I think it's really important. And that would be number 26, support for the Downtown Ithaca Daycare Service at the tune of $16,075 to Target.
Do I have a second? I seconded by Travis Brooks. Go ahead.
I will say that it is a bit problematic that many of our legislators aren't here to actually vote on this. So I hope that we have the votes on this resolution that's pretty important to our community. We did have one of our employees come during public comment and talk about the importance of daycare, specifically for her to be able to work at her position here at the county. I know that many others in our community rely on Downtown Ithaca Daycare Service, and while $16,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money, it is to the small nonprofits that provide daycare. Daycare in our community continues to be essential for any parent to go to work. And so, and there are very few mechanisms as a county that we can actually do to contribute to helping people that have daycare crisis. So I would ask my colleagues for us to move forward and support Downtown Ithaca Daycare Service with $16,000.
Shauna, there are 11 legislators here tonight.
Okay.
So far. Other comments? Randy?
Oh, no. Are you bringing it forward, or
I would like to move it.
was it seconded? If not,
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded.
I missed the second.
Do you have a comment?
No.
Other comments? Travis, did you have a hand?
No, I was like Randy. No, I was.
Oh, just counting. Veronica, on the floor is an amendment moved by Shauna Black for the downtown daycare for $16,000 figure. It's not on the list, but she's moved it first. It's been moved and seconded. We're asking for comment at this point. Mike Ziegler.
I just have some questions. I mean, I plan to vote for it, but how many kids does this daycare? I mean, can you tell us a little about the daycare?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
I know where it's located.
Okay.
It's obviously in the city of Ithaca. I don't know the statistics behind how many kids go there, how many kids of employees of ours go there.
What?
I do know that whenever I was looking for daycare for my son, it had like a 3-month wait list for a toddler. And so there's never a shortage of daycare, or there's always a shortage of daycare here in Tompkins County.
No, I only ask because, I mean, if we're going to subsidize this daycare, which is, I guess, what this would be, then I would anticipate us getting other requests for subsidies from other daycares. And that would be something that's a much bigger
And
ask.
we have funded Head Start programs. You'll remember that many of our rescue plan funds went to the Connington, went to IC3. We have funded IC3, their expansion in the past. And so I don't think it's outside of the realm for us to consider these asks on an annual basis.
Not saying outside the realm, just saying there's a lot
Yeah.
of them.
Travis?
The daycare did apply through the Human Service Coalition, so it is open to the community, so anybody can apply. So they might have 25 daycares apply next year, but it's not directly to the county.
No, that's great. Thank you. That's terrific to know.
Veronica?
In not full answer to your question about how many people it serves, I recall the number 100 from one of the public commenters. I don't know if that was families or children, though.
Thanks.
I would indicate that we now have 13 legislators present, and the 14th will be a little late tonight. Other comments? On the amendment that Sean has brought forth for, say the figure again, 16,000 what?
$75.
$16,075 for the daycare. All those in favor? Any opposed? Lee, were you voting?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see your hand, I'm sorry. I think that's unanimous then. All right. Anything else before I start down the list? We're going to number ID 39 to Rich John, emergency
Hands up.
response. Oh, I'm sorry. Amanda, do you want to do something before this?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have to find it, though.
Always useful.
It's actually Deborah's, but it's number 21, Office of Human Rights, to remove 89,723 that was in the county administrator's recommendation, and will save us, will take out 0.16%.
Is there a second? Seconded by Deborah.
May I speak?
Whoever wants, Amanda, or you
go
can
for it.
speak.
Yeah, well, this was my amendment.
What number is it?
It's number 21.
Thank you.
So in the recommended budget, there are monies for 2 staff positions to be added, one for the director of the Office of Human Rights and one for an education and outreach coordinator. My feeling is that there has not been a director for many months, and the director we had previously was primarily working on education and outreach. So it would be my recommendation that we not fund the education and outreach coordinator, that we go ahead and hire a director and let that person settle into the job and see what he or she needs going forward. And at that time, we can consider whether it's necessary to add an education and outreach coordinator.
Amanda, did you want to speak?
Ditto.
Others? Travis, did you have your hand up? Okay. Dan Klein,
I think,
then Veronica Pillar.
thanks. I think just before we vote, just to make it clear that a yes vote is to subtract it.
Yes, correct.
Veronica?
I support this for the reasons Deborah mentioned, but I do want to be very clear that this, at least this amendment by itself, does not close the Office of Human Rights, and I
No.
at least, yes, but people get scared. It has only been kind of open this whole year, and I hope we do move forward quickly in hiring a director who can then
Decide
bring
what the
things up to
office needs.
speed. It was, I was recently just dropped by the office to visit, and it's very clear they're still getting, despite the low staffing, calls and walk-ins, and the one bottom line that I came away with was that the office is still very much needed in our community. But I think it's reasonable to wait on funding a position that would be hired by someone we haven't hired yet.
I would note that we now have all 4 legislators.
14?
All 14. And Greg Mezzi is next.
Yeah, I support the removal of this. I do hope that, as I think we've maybe seen in some back and forth, before we put the CEDO and this position out, the Director of Office of Human Rights, we could have the conversation in the program committees about any potential efficiencies that would be created in some joint operation between those two departments. So I hope that we don't rush into hiring before we can have a thoughtful conversation in BCP, GO, HHS, and whatever other committee is appropriate, or we just have it at the full legislature. WDIC, thank you, that's what I was blanking on at the moment. So I think we should have that conversation before we provide direction to swiftly hire those two positions separately.
Other comments? Veronica?
I actually strongly disagree with that. I don't know if now's the time to get into it, but we should have tried hiring the CEDO already. There's been no indication we were changing these positions all year, except for hints here and there. And I don't think that the convenience of the vacancies is a reason to suggest combining them any more than if they were both going strong.
Ann?
Yes, and to add to that, I would say that the CEDO, the work is going pretty strong, and I would hate to have any more of a lapse than we're already going to have, because we can't hire somebody and have them on board the next couple of weeks. So I would also, for that position, I would like to have that person hired as soon as possible.
Anyone else?
Can I have point of information?
Sure.
Procedurally, how can we have that disagreement and have an outcome that's the directive of the legislature?
Well, we're voting on, what's on the table is whether to remove this funding from Target for that position.
Which has nothing to, actually, this debate has nothing to do with this amendment.
Well, I mean, it could if you envision.
Hands, people.
Well, just a second.
My thought process on why it pertains to this.
I'm going to get you, Amanda. I'm just understanding, but I want you to, what's on the table at this point, so what your vote would be about is that. Amanda, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said, the vote on the table is about this particular position. There's been some emails. I've sent a couple of them. Of course, it has also, it's very unclear at this point when we can have that conversation. That has not been indicated. It is not an executive session discussion because it's not about a particular person or their salary or their details. It's about public offices. So if we could have that conversation tomorrow, that would be great. That's not going to happen. And I would look to Corsa to say, when are we going to have that conversation? Because it should be the full legislature.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, my only thought about bringing it up in relation to this, because there would be a structure to the organization if those decisions were made. So that's personally why I'm not fully on board voting against this until we have a whole picture of what that potential office would be. I understand the need for the reduction, but I would like to have more of a full legislative conversation around the Office of Human Rights and the CEDO position, because I think we've been talking about it for quite some time.
Yep.
Okay. I think that that's a reasonable request. And I guess it would be GO committee. Is that right? Or is it budget person and
I think it
personnel?
needs to be the full legislature.
At the full legislature. Okay. All right. What's on the table is the motion or the amendment to reduce $89,723 from the Office of Human Rights, particularly for the position of Education Outreach Coordinator. So your vote on this, as Dan has pointed out, is to reduce the target. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Those opposed? 13 to 1, that passes. Okay, anything else before I go back to number 39? Go ahead.
Since I'm on a roll, this is a little one, but it's near and dear to my heart. I'd like to move number 20, the $27,038 returned to Tompkins Community Action.
Number 20, that's not on the list, and it's what? 20, how much?
$27,038.
038 to Tompkins Community Action.
Travis is seconding before his arm gets sore.
Second by Travis Brooks. Go ahead and speak to it.
I will speak to this. I am in awe of what this particular organization accomplishes with a very small amount of money. We give them less than $300,000 a year, and they manage to leverage that into a $9 million annual budget. I wish more of our not-for-profit organizations would follow their model because it's incredibly successful and we get a lot of bang for our buck. So that's my reasons. Thank you.
Randy?
I've had an opportunity to work with Tom Community Action for many years, and they've always gone the extra mile. And whenever I had an issue as a landlord, they would always work with me and communicate extremely well with me, so I support this.
Others? Travis?
I've worked with them for the last 26 years. They are very creative. They go out and they get money. They don't sit and wait for it to come. They do a lot of good things in the community. So for me, it's a no-brainer.
Others? Ready to vote? Adding $27,038 for Tompkins Community Action. That would be the target. Those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Mike, I have a question. Whenever you mention adding to target, are we adding these one time to target, or are they forever being added to our target?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have that right in front of me, but I assumed it was target. Are you thinking it's not? Go ahead, Deborah.
I would suggest that target has become a somewhat amorphous concept this year. So I appreciate your concern about years coming up, but I'm not sure at this point it really matters, because God knows where we're going to be next year. And as we've seen in the last couple of years, we've actually cut target at times. So
I get that, but I think what I'm wondering is next year, is it just assumed that they're going to have the same amount if it's added to target for next year, or next year will they also have to come in front of the legislature?
Let Corsa respond, then we'll get Dan.
Yeah. I know. If we say they're in our target limit, then it's different.
Corsa?
So I think these reductions were based on the broader amount we told HSC to reduce their numbers by, and they did a distribution to organizations based on need and expectation. So this just goes back to the initial target that we set with them. My anticipation is going into next year, we have to review how to project the target based on what we can actually afford. So for example, I anticipate earlier conversation in terms of what our tax levy goal should be, and then use that as in determining what the target level is going to be like for the agencies. So everything that we provide to specific agency may not be the same amount we set for them as a target for next year.
I think we just need to prepare the people that are being added to target this year. I mean, historically, that's been the goal of many of our nonprofits, is to go through their 3 years of OTRs and then be added to target. That's like the end goal for many of our nonprofits. And so it needs to be clear to the nonprofits that we're funding with target funds that next year, it's not just assumed you're going to be part of our county budget forever.
That's fair.
I guess when I use the word target, I'm using it in the old sense. I don't know what would be better to use if I want to say add to maintenance of effort. Is that the way you'd like to have us say, Corsa?
I think that makes it more understandable for maybe the agencies, or you can just indicate that you're funding it through tax levy for this year, but you're not going to fund it through the tax levy next year. Because at the moment, everything that we have, all the policy choices right now just hit the tax levy. So be it adding or removing, and until you decide at the end of the period if you want to leverage other funding, if there is other funding that we can use. So.
Rich, then Randy?
I'd feel more comfortable if we kept our...
Oh, I'm sorry, it was Dan, Rich then Dan.
Sorry, I just want to point out this really quick. Sorry, Rich. Just to try to hopefully smooth this out a little bit. The concept of a multi-year OTR is like not happening anymore. That's not the way that most municipal governments do things. You usually budget in out years based upon, you usually only budget in out years if it's a capital expense, because you know you're going to have those expenditures in out years. The baseline, most people call it a baseline budget, but this year we're calling it a maintenance of effort or target budget. They're synonymous. An OTR or enhancement or whatever you want to call it happens this year. It may happen next year. It may not happen next year. That's the way we have to start thinking about things. We don't have this, when I was here and I was a budget director, we had this big chunk of federal money that we were able to go and fund multi-year projects with, and it would be assumed that next year the starting balance of whatever this nonprofit or whatever be would exist. It doesn't. This number that we're looking at right here, it says tax levy, it's for this year. Next year, it may be carried over, but I think that the merits of it will be debated in a similar fashion. So I just for all of our clarification. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that I had the same understanding that this is this year's budget. There is no such thing as next year's budget until we get to next year, or there's a capital program. That's all I wanted to say.
Rich John.
Yeah, Dan, I disagree. We have worked on the same basis forever. And trying to change all the nomenclature in the middle of our budget process, I think, is dangerous. And I do believe there is some merit to doing multi-year OTRs so that we're signaling. We have always said, you can't be guaranteed this money in the next 2 years. This year you're getting it, but in a multi-year OTR, we are signaling this is what would make sense. It's not a guarantee, but target also has meant something, and it sounds like we're now going to have it mean something entirely different. That if it's target, that's the base budget, and the agency or the department knows this is their base budget. If we're having a really bad year, you go back to them and you say there's a cut, but that's out of the ordinary. Now it sounds like their target is what they had sometime in the past, and each year, whatever growth, then we have to start over. And each year it's going to be more difficult to get back to whatever base budget year that we now say is target. I don't understand how this will be easier for the legislators. I really wish we weren't doing this. Thanks.
Dan?
Just to clarify, Rich, you're not wrong, and it's not even that I disagree with you. That's just not how it is. They should assume, these nonprofits, if they get a $50,000 disbursement or whatever it is, $10,000 disbursement, and it's in this year's budget, they can assume that it will be considered next year, but there's no guarantee that it will be there next year. It's like, I don't know, maybe I'm not misunderstanding the...
This is something we are changing. This is different from their understanding a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago.
That's fair.
Amanda?
Well, to your point, Rich, I mean, if I guess we are changing the words, but we need to be clear on that, and agencies, like, they need to be clear on that too. Like, so I don't know if they are. I don't know if I am. So if we just added, or we just gave Tompkins Community Action $27,000, are they going to get that next year or not? Okay, but do they know that?
Now they do.
Now they do, yeah, but they didn't. Neither did
Norma?
Okay, so I don't want to add any more confusion, but it has, just as we did this year, the departments will receive a budget, a target budget that they're going to come in with. So it would include this $27,038 in this case. They will get a target budget, just as we have. The difference, I think, what's kind of throwing folks off is the concept of one time, right? So one time at the end of the process is what Course has been saying is at the end of the process, we can go in and we can say, if we've said, I'm going to make something up, we've had $150,000 worth of one-time items, things that we would only spend for 1 year, you could come in and say, I'm going to use $150,000 of fund balance to cover those one-time items so that we don't increase our tax levy. It's the same way we've done it every other year. It's just a different mindset. So if we can just kind of get past that, because if you want to fund it with one-time funds, if you want to fund it with your fund balance, you can do that. It's at the end of the process, you can come in and say, we're going to spend $150,000 below our target. We're going to drop our fund balance target below, and we're going to use that $150,000 of fund balance to cover these one-time items. We've got a vehicle, we've got a tractor, we've got a whatever it is that's one time, we're only going to spend it once. I don't know if this is helpful at all, but that's the way we've been working. That's what I've been working under. If it's a target, if we are adding people, that money's going to go back into their budget next year. If in this case, you're adding $27,038 to the target for the Tompkins Community Action, that's going to go back into their target next year. Now, that doesn't mean we won't cut it, because we have to try to make a tax levy, but that's the way that works. And so I don't know if that's helpful or not. I didn't want to get in the debate. I just wanted to try to help explain.
We've got Shauna, then Rich, then Greg.
I think what makes it confusing as well is that we're also talking about adding positions. So for example, like the accountant position, $123,000 to target. This is obviously, I mean, we wouldn't add a position to just say we're going to do it for a single year. And so I think what would help me mentally to understand this a little better is if whenever we're moving amendments, we can say single year or multiple year. For example, if it's a nonprofit, if it's not county, if it's, you know, a single one-time event, maybe we just say one time so that we know that they're not getting those funds next year unless they come forth to us again. Whereas like, you know, any position that we hire, I would assume that they would be target from here on out. I think the advantage, though, I will say, to what we've done in the past is we've had an OTR for a 3-year period so that we see how the position works with the county, and we also reevaluate it after 3 years, because we've had positions that we've added that have not added value to the county services. And at the end of 3 years, we've said, you know what, let's not have that position, let's reduce that position and have the funds go elsewhere. So I think there is kind of an advantage of saying a multi-year, 3-year target one time, you know.
Rich? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying we could track it that way.
Rich?
Yeah, I guess I don't see the value of us doing the budget and then at the end deciding we're going to make so much of this one time, because we're going to have to remember which amendments we then want to go back and take out of fund balance. In past years, we've done it at the same time. We've given the indication, there's consensus at the table here, when you're voting, what it's going to do to that percentage. If we don't do it at the same time, that percentage really doesn't tell us where we're at. So I would really like us to agree that we will set, if it's one time, it doesn't change the tax levy.
Right.
And we do it at the time of the amendment.
Greg?
Yeah, I guess I'm maybe of a different belief system, because you can use levy for one time, and really our vote every year is only for one time in the levy. I'm a believer that nothing is guaranteed in your budget next year, because everything is up for cut, debate, or conversation. So really, we come to the levy every year for one-time funding and make a decision. This idea of we've granted it 1 year and you forever have it in perpetuity is the reason why we have so much in some years additional positions that aren't filled or other things, because we've just continued to fund them and fund them and fund them. So I guess I look at it as, if we all put it into the levy right now, then we can see what we're really spending. And if we want to use other sources of revenue later, we use that to adjust the levy. I think that's what the county administrator is recommending, because if we start next year in sort of a zero-based budget model, we're sort of building those up, and we're looking to the county administrator to make recommendations on what to keep, what to include, what to add, and we do that every year. So I don't really see how adding something to target makes a difference. Maybe I'm not looking at it the right way. Maybe I am. I see this exercise as every budget is a one-time budget, because next year it could be something drastically different.
Dan Nolan.
Yeah, so what Greg said is functionally true, and one way of looking at it. You could look at it the exact opposite way and have it be functionally true as well. Right, you could look at everything as one time, or everything as baseline or perpetuating or multi-year. You can look at it either way, because functionally what Greg said is every year this legislature gets together and decides on a budget. So if you want to say that this $27,038 to target is going to TCA, and it's in the budget this year, the budget will start next year with TCA having this $27,038. You don't have to fund it, but it will start there. So everything, that's what we call, or in places I've worked in the past, baseline budgeting. Whereas if you give it to TCA this year, they start with it again next year. They might not get it, but they start with it, and you start with that consideration. So the concept of a multi-year OTR is just kind of moot, just because everything is multi-year. Or if you want to look at it from Greg's perspective, which is, again, philosophically opposite, but functionally the same, you can look at it as nothing is multi-year. Everything just gets wiped clean every year, and you guys can start having either a zero-based mindset or an actual zero-based budgeting thing where everyone starts with zero budget. So that is really the only difference here, is that the concept of a multi-year OTR just doesn't exist, because everything is a multi-year OTR. And yeah, you could use target for it. You could use one-time. The only place where a one-time funding thing would be more important is if you are pulling from fund balance, because there's no way to replenish it. Or there is, but there's no guarantee that it will be replenished. So.
Travis.
To me, a perfect example is conversation at Sunflower House. Last year it was a 3-year OTR for $49,000. So that wasn't guaranteed that they get the money for 3 years, because look, it's on the chopping block. So I don't really understand that if we put something on for multi-years, there is the opportunity for it not to get funded. So just because we do a 3-year OTR, maintenance of whatever we're calling it now, doesn't mean that the following year it's going to get funded. So I'm a little confused to why, if we say it's a 3-year deal, it has to be a 3-year deal, because it's not for Sunflower House.
Just to finalize this, and I'm sorry, I hope this will make the rest of the afternoon go smoothly. Yeah, Travis is correct. It's unfair to Sunflower House to say you have a 3-year OTR and then next year strip it from them. Just say you got some baseline funding in the budget. We will revisit it next year in every single circumstance.
Veronica?
Never mind.
I'm just most concerned that as we go through the rest of these amendments, everybody understands the terminology. And if you don't understand it when it's happening in the vote, put your hand up and let's get it explained. Personally, I agree with Rich. I liked it when we went through and had target versus one time, so that we could watch it and see what we were putting where. As far as the 2 or 3 year over targets, yes, it's no guarantee to the applicant, but it's also causes us to think about it and say, yeah, we thought possibly we would give them this for another year, and should we or shouldn't we? So that's my thoughts on it. Yes, Veronica.
Sorry, I changed my mind. I do want to share my thoughts. To the point about each time identifying whether something is target or one time, I guess there was multiple reasons to do that. The reason of tracking the tax levy, I am actually starting to think that maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it would be fine to say everything changes the levy and then maybe take from fund balance at the end. Because in my previous 3 budgets, we do that anyway. Like, we identify tax levy or fund balance, but then we still have the, okay, now how much more fund balance are we using to offset the levy conversation anyway? But so maybe there it doesn't matter. But the other thing that calling something one time does is it essentially flags it to be pulled out as a separate written item for legislators' consideration for future years. So that seems important. That seems like something that we would not want to go without. Oh, and then the last thing I have as a question is, so what terminology did we land on?
Did we land?
I just think that when we're talking maintenance of effort, those of us that think about target have that in the back of our mind as well. You can disagree with me, Randy? Apparently
Just to really
does.
mess people up. I look at it as simply as we're increasing the budget or reducing the budget. That's what this process is. With the way we've come to levy is we've determined all the revenues that we get are already on the books, and to spend this additional money, we need to increase our revenues, which happens to be the tax levy in this case. I don't necessarily agree with all the revenues we put in place, but that's what it is. We're saying that those revenues we projected are what they are, and we need this much more revenue, which is going to be what we ask for the taxpayer. Whether it's maintenance of effort or target or whatever can be hashed out at some point, but I just want to make sure we understand how we're looking at it.
Okay, let's vote on the $27,038. All those in favor?
Can you please repeat it?
voted already.
What was on the floor?
We already voted on it. I'm sorry. That's right. We passed it unanimously, and then we got into a point of information, and then we got into further discussion. Thanks for reminding me of that. Okay, let's go to Rich John, emergency response, reduce support for security officer positions, target by 200,000. I will point out it does say target on the sheet we're looking at.
Thanks, Mike. I put this in because I think we should be considering our security program in more detail. Adding 4.5 headcount in this budget cycle is quite a bit. I say this having read the news story today on the threats that have been out there. This is something we need to take seriously, and I certainly don't want to suggest otherwise, but I'm not sure that putting all of that money into our budget, over $400,000 to protect buildings where meetings are taking place, is the right approach. I would like us to do something a bit more nuanced and certainly cheaper.
I still need a second.
Oh.
Seconded by Deborah.
Thank you. I picked the $200,000 as a placeholder so that we could put that into contingency and have further discussion about what the security program could possibly be within that boundary. Thanks.
So let me understand, are you suggesting that this money not just be a reduction, but be placed into contingency?
Yes, this would eliminate the other line item, endure, to fund the, I think it's 4.5 positions. Is that right, Norma? And this would be placed into contingency instead.
Do you have a corresponding amendment to remove that 600 and some $1,000?
It's in the description, I think. Reduce security budget, but
Which one are you looking at? I see 39.
39, but I think you're right. We probably should have a corresponding one to
Right.
reduce. It's shown as a negative on this sheet, but.
All right, let's get clear what we're doing. What are you doing, Rich?
This motion is to put 200 into contingency to apply against a modified security plan, but we should have another amendment to remove the other line item as well.
Want to do it all together? Or do you want to do it separate?
That's the way it was entered. It was to reduce the security budget and allocate those $200,000 to the, it doesn't reduce our tax levy. All it does is move it.
I don't care if we do it as 2 or 1.
Your choice.
Let's do it as 1.
Okay. Deborah?
Yeah, this one's difficult because I know everyone is very concerned, and with good reason, about security. I do think, thinking back on the the Community Justice Center, for example, and our Rapid Medical Response Program, whenever we've initiated a program of this size and substance, we've actually spent some time studying it. And I think that the reason I would support this is only because I think it would behoove us to work with our Department of Emergency Response, our Sheriff's Office, maybe a contractor, to try to figure out what the best design is for a program like this. So those are my thoughts.
Shauna.
Thank you. I've thought that we've need to increase our security for months now, if not maybe even a year or so. All of us have seen the emails we're getting. One of us around this table has received threats. I mean, we're seeing this on a national level. And I think that we also have staff that are in these rooms. We have public that are joining us at these meetings. The fact of the matter is there have been many conversations on the county level. We have hired consultants to go into DSS and figure out what the best way to protect people that are going there and the staff are. We have hired the consultants. We have staff recommendations. We've spent hours and hours and hours trying to figure out what the best solution and not spending the most money would be. And so, for one, I trust the staff that are coming to us and saying that this is the best route for us to take. In the past, we've hired security agencies to come in and perform services. At this point, we're actually able to invest in county employees, which I think provides a more personable experience for people that walk through the doors. I think as this process goes through, as things keep happening in our community, we're going to get better and better at what we do, and we might see efficiencies along the way. My assumption is that as we move buildings, we're also going to need to have some staff on hand and not go through more studies and more conversation. I do think it's just probably a matter of time before, unfortunately, something happens in our area or in a county that we know that's going to be dangerous. So I hope that we take this seriously. As noted, our county attorney has also stated that he has concerns about the liability of the county if we don't act on some of these security concerns. So I hope that we can give our county administrator the thumbs up and we can move forward, because we have been talking about this way too long and we really have not taken action.
Okay, we have the clerks are raising a question. Say again, Katrina. $200,000 from?
We just want to clarify that we're moving $200,000 from doer budget to the contingent fund. That's what the motion is on the table, correct?
And there's a line item, I don't have the exact amount in the doer budget, that would be eliminated.
$628,000.
Well, you don't want to eliminate the whole 638,000 plus take 200,000 out, because that cuts them by 800,000.
Yeah,
so let's get this.
You leave 200 in that goes to contingency.
So, so you want to completely eliminate the budget then and only keep $200,000 for the entire security budget?
That's not what I had.
I didn't.
Yeah, when we had our conversation, I thought that was.
I thought you were moving.
What is the line item, Norma?
Well, it's, so it's functional unit 3988. There's several line items within that. And, so thank you. So the regular pay line and the salary and fringes are about $592,000. And then there's overtime and shift pay and such. So we currently have two employees hired in that program. The resolution that's coming forward tomorrow is to increase that budget to accommodate 4.5, so that we can accommodate 4.5 positions.
Yeah, and I would leave the 2 that are there, but eliminate 2.5.
Okay.
The 2.5 are in the proposed 26 budget?
I beg your pardon?
The 2.5 are in the proposed 26 budget?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
but, and the resolution tomorrow is to bring them into 2025?
And 26, it's a target increase.
Okay, but if we vote as it presented, they're in this budget?
And we'll have to amend the resolution tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, you got where we are?
Norma and I will figure out the exact figures.
Thank you. All right, now here's what I have. I have Randy, Travis, Amanda, Greg.
Okay, mine was the question that we've been talking about here. So I'm looking at the DOER budget, and what the county administrator is recommending is countywide security program of $628,351, and that's new for 2026. And so what you're recommending, Rich, is to reduce that number by 200,000 in contingency? Is that what you're?
I would.
No.
Is that what we're doing? Or is this some?
Take the whole thing out and put 200,000 in contingency.
But I think that number also includes continuation of the two headcount that have been hired in 25.
So we don't want to do that either.
I would continue those two
Yes.
positions.
And you need a number. So I'm still not clear, so.
So I'm going to make a suggestion. What if we come back to this one?
I think that might make sense.
After staff have had an opportunity to move these numbers around and we know what we're voting on.
Yeah, maybe even Norm and I could talk at a break if we have one, and we could even revisit it later tonight or maybe on Wednesday. With the chair's permission. I think that'd be better.
Okay, can you withdraw?
Yeah.
Or is okay with the seconder? Deborah?
I think that was Deborah.
Yes.
Okay, it's withdrawn. We'll come back to it
Okay.
later in the meeting. All right, Rich, you're next on the line also with the DSS security team.
Yeah, and this,
100,000 from Target, or added to Target.
Which number is this?
This is 42, to support a contract for armed security services pending submission and approval of a final security plan.
and again, Norma advised me that this is also under consideration, and I would suggest if we were to consider this, we would do the same thing, that we add it to contingency so that we could look at it in the context of a larger security plan.
Deborah?
Is this something that should be considered with the one you just withdrew?
Well, they're next to each other.
Well, no, but I mean, are they interrelated so that it would make more sense for them to be discussed together?
I think they should be discussed together, but they're separate line items in separate budget. Is that correct, Norma? This is in the DSS budget.
So this one's just DSS?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a question though on that. Is it remaining a DSS contract, or is there some consideration of the DSS security moving into one of our county departments?
Go ahead, Corsa.
We have had several conversations with the security team. I think based on everything that's going on, it is essential that we take a pause and discuss security in the way that it should be discussed in a more better environment. We have had several threats and issues, and it's essential that we determine our security program not in the open. So I will pivot, I will ask that we table it. We'll work with DOER, the Sheriff's Office, and bring a revised security protocol plan for you to consider. Our goal is to make sure there's integration between the countywide security and what is at DSS. We have had conversation with the team at DSS already. DOER are working on that, so we can bring in a more comprehensive countywide security that we can leverage resources across board for other things. So the motion, as you indicated, can be discussed together as a broader security plan and way to get a policy that can be adapted so that we can move forward. I think my understanding where we are is you want to take a step back, review the security plan, and make sure it is reasonable and cost-effective before we move forward. And then we work the Sheriff's Office and relook at the plan again. So you can make a determination to put some money in a contingent account to determine the process moving forward. But that also has an impact on the legislation tomorrow if we are moving forward as is, or if we want to take a pause completely and review a security plan and look at the processes before we make a determination. So I'll pray that we hold the conversation and allow the expert to give us direction so that we can make informed decision around security issues.
I do have a couple of hands up, but I want to know whether we're going to discuss it right now. Rich, what do you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, we could withdraw this one as well and revisit them. You know, the purpose of putting it into contingency was to allow the quiet conversation to occur that you don't want to have in public. So I'm happy to withdraw this one too, as long as we're knowing that we need to come back and consider putting something in contingency.
Amanda?
Yeah, I'm deeply troubled by this. The legislature has not said, Rich has said that he wants to take this out. So for Corsa to then say, okay, we're going to pause and we're going to go back, one legislator said that. This is, we need to take a vote and say, yes, we don't want this security plan, if that's the direction we want to go.
I don't agree with that. I think
We
that
have a
he
plan.
has, he has the right to withdraw, and then he can, if you want to bring it back as your own motion, you're certainly welcome to do that.
But I thought we had a plan. That's what was put in the budget, was we had a study, we talked to various law enforcement departments talked, and they came forward with the plan. And Rich is saying he doesn't want that plan. The legislature has not said they don't want that plan. So I do not want Corsa to go ahead and reevaluate and start over.
Well, that's something we should vote on.
Exactly.
That would be for tomorrow night.
Randy?
Well, I think security is really important. I think this really comes down to communication of other issues that we've had with legislatures and administration and our departments and whatnot. I don't feel I've been part of this plan whatsoever. I mean, so I'm familiar, been filled in once in a while, you know, in conversations, but I haven't seen the plan. So I know the pieces of it, and I think sometimes when you do these things and you don't involve legislatures right up front, it comes to legislature and then we have this. Right, so I think we need to change the way we do this. We had a whole meeting with all our departments about how we need to communicate better and all this stuff, and then this happens. So I want to support security. I think it's important. I think we need to fund some of this, but I want to know more about the plan, and I think technology needs to be part of it.
Travis, then Greg, then Veronica, even though we have to have it off the table, if someone wants, I'm going to let you make your comments, but if someone wants to put it back on the table, you'd have to make another motion.
I'm just confused about this conversation. I don't know how many meetings we had where we talked about the different plans that were brought to us for security. Yep. Rich was simply, we put in a thing to take money away from that plan. He's withdrawing it off the table. So am I wrong to assume that if he's taking his out, if he's withdrawing his what's the word, Shona?
Amendment.
His amendment. We just go back to where we were before, right? The money's in the budget, the 648,000 or whatever it is.
Corsa said we're going to pause and withdraw and go back.
I didn't hear Corsa say he's taking that money out of the budget. What I heard Corsa say is they were going to pause and relook at the plan. But for now, that $648,000 is still in the budget unless somebody makes an amendment to add more money or take away money.
I just want to clarify what I said is if you're making changes today, that means you have to make changes to the resolution tomorrow. Because tomorrow is you're voting to accept the plan that has been agreed on for us to proceed and hire those additional people. So if, for example, you vote to make changes and we vote to pass the resolution tomorrow, we have to come back and restore the funding. So I was just trying to make sure that we have if there are specific concern on the security, I think we have to have that conversation in a different setting. But I agree. We have a plan on the table right now. The plan is funded for 2026. If we are making changes to the funding model, we have to relook at the plan, and that is based on the resolution on the table tomorrow for consideration. So I'm not saying that we should take a complete pause. I said, let's pause the conversation because there's aspect of security conversation that shouldn't be had in an open.
Yeah, I just, as Corsa said, there's this resolution tomorrow night, which we can debate and amend and change, whatever we want to do with that. Veronica.
I guess two things. If there's some way to have that non-public conversation between, not right this moment, but also before we have to vote on that resolution tomorrow night, I'd love to do it. Don't know if that's possible. The other thing I just wanted to say, which is maybe related, and let me preface by saying I'm not going to share any security details publicly. I'm sure you love to hear someone say that. One of a cheaper piece of our security apparatus is simply, from our annual training, I know we've got a list of the various physical locations that county employees work and the different types of risks in each one and the control measures for the various risks. And it has come to my attention that that document does not match reality 100%. And that's all I'm going to say publicly, but sorting that out would be, I don't know, helpful and either maybe cheaper or maybe that's a whole new person's job and then it costs salary. I don't know.
I think there was one more, Greg.
Yeah, I'm equally as confused how people don't think we've had the conversation around a plan or haven't seen a plan. On July 15th, Michael Stitley sent a very detailed email with two different proposals, one using SPOs and one using county security staff. And I don't want to get into the specifics of any executive session conversation. I think based on the resolution that we see on tomorrow's agenda, we can see the fruits of maybe some of those discussions that were had because we had talked about this. Like we have the shortest memory of people ever. If we think like, just search email and search security plan and it comes right up. So I'm just, the fact that we're sitting here and this year we've just re-debated and debated and debated and debated decisions we've already made. Like, let's stick with it and move on. We don't have security for buildings. We have security for the people inside the buildings, right? That's what we're protecting. And for me, if somebody said we need $1 million security budget, and I voted every year to keep the tax levy as low as possible, but that's what our professionals felt we needed, by God, I would pass that with no questions asked. So the fact that we're relitigating this is frustrating, and I hope we get it right. And I hope we provide the professionals with the resource they need to do their job because everyone who walks through this door should feel safe.
Okay, shall we move on?
Yes.
And Greg, I would just say that we try to protect our buildings too. People are the first.
Mike, you can replace buildings. People are not replaceable.
I'm not disagreeing about that, but I'm just saying it's not that we don't protect buildings. Ann Corman is next. We're going to talk about cars. This is back to the one that we started talking about the other night. And Ann, where are we now?
Second. Okay, we're motoring right along here. This, I'd like to, I'm going to have it slightly amended, but this is ID number 24 on the amendments. And this is through the Planning and Sustainability Department. And what I have written down there is to restore the requested amount for fleet replacement, but I want to not do that. What I would like to do is do half of what I proposed there, because I think in talking to legislators, that might be more palatable. And so if you have the sheet I gave out at our last budget meeting, which I know we have a ton of papers, but it's this one with yellow and light mauve. I'm not sure what the other color, but so I gave you this one. There's also an email from Norma. So give you a minute to get that out. And so why I'm putting this forward has, following up.
Can you state what we're going to move?
Yeah, this is to put back in $333,000 for fleet replacement. 333, yes. $333,000 for fleet replacement out of the capital fund. And I'll wait on a second, then I'll explain that.
Is there a second? Seconded by Veronica. Go ahead, Ann.
So if you have this sheet in front of you, it's the ones in yellow that will give you that total. If you're looking at the email that Norma sent out earlier today, it's a blue chart, and there's 2 pages. The bottom of the first page, where it's over to the left where it says it wasn't recommended, so that's a no. So it starts from the no, and then on that one, it goes all the way down to the one from Recycling and Materials Management, the 2016 Ford F-150, which also gives you an idea of some of the age for some of these vehicles. So these are not new vehicles in the respect of, this is replacing other vehicles that we have leased, that we have purchased, and let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these are purchases. I could go over which ones are not, depending on which sheet you have, if you have questions on that. But one of the reasons, some of the reasons I brought this up, which I'll quote one of my fellow legislators, is to provide our staff with the resources to do their job. We have, in this year's budget, cut quite a few things. We don't have any money for major maintenance and repairs of our building. We don't have any money for our green facilities. And so I don't think this is sustainable to keep putting these things off. It's actually going to cost us more money in the long run. And so this, our vehicles are ways, is a way that our employees do their job. So for instance, you'll see a lot of these, the different departments that they're listed for. Some of these are for the sheriff's department, so they can respond to emergencies, maintenance of our roads and our departments. Sometimes they're transporting people in the community. So it's important that their vehicles are reliable. And we're really lucky to have Terry Carroll here from our planning department, who has worked many years in trying to figure out a cost-effective and reliable and sustainable fleet maintenance and repair for us over the years. And hacking away at this, for the last 3 years and not replacing our vehicles has thrown us off. It's actually going to cost us more money in the long run. We're going to have more downtime, more vehicles not available. So I'm asking for half of what I originally asked for, and let's see if there was any other things. A little tired from all these meetings. Let's see. I think that's about it. I'll just see if anybody has questions. We also, since a lot of the vehicles are here, are from the sheriff's department, we have the sheriff and undersheriff here who came in for the meeting, and we also have Terry Carroll here from the planning department.
Amanda.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Annie and Norma and whoever put the additional details together. I obviously think this is important, and staff need vehicles to do their work. I'll just say what I said last week. This is not something I can support tonight until I see the other things that are, to me, much more important to fund. So if we vote on this tonight, it'll be a no for me.
Can I just make a point?
Sure.
That this is from the capital fund, the funds that would be for this.
I thought it was from fund balance.
I'm moving it from the capital fund because I was advised that that's where the money should be coming from, right, Terry?
Which capital fund?
Yeah.
I'd like some clarification from Norma, please.
Yeah, I think it has to come from the fund balance. I'm not sure we can use it from capital reserve because
that's what I'm wondering.
They're vehicles. So rather than we getting too bogged down in that, it would be coming from a fund balance if we're not using tax levy. But it would likely be the general fund. It wouldn't come from the capital fund.
Dan Klein.
No, it's their vehicles. You can't take it out of the capital reserve.
My question
But they're
got answered.
leased.
Okay.
Not the leases.
So we'll go to Dan Nolan.
Well, that was convenient. I spoke a bit with Daryl, and I don't really know if I have I don't know how, well, how about this? This is my idea. So we should purchase some vehicles. I don't know how many, maybe all, I don't know. And we should issue debt to support the purchase of said vehicles because they are legitimate capital assets insofar as our bond council and any county policy or law enables us to. We should assume those costs, put them on the books as capital assets, and free up any type of expenditure budget or operating budget that we can. That is my proposal. It solves the issue that Amanda was concerned about, and it's effectively what Ann just said. So insofar as we are able to do that, I'm going to propose doing, I don't know if that's a straight up amendment or if it adjusts Ann's amendment. I actually don't know, and I apologize for that. That's a Mike question.
I think it's an amendment.
Well, you're saying to purchase all of them and
that isn't
bond for
currently,
all of them.
yeah, that aren't currently purchased. If we are able to have a bulk issuance of debt to purchase all of those, and we have the headroom in the capital budget to assume this debt, I'm proposing that we do so because that actually reduces the tax levy. Well, it reduces the amount that we would have to levy for.
Minus the debt service cost.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, notably minus debt service. It reduces, not eliminates, but reduces the amount of debt service.
Is there a second for this amendment to the amendment? Shauna? Okay, so let's go to,
We're talking about the amendment now?
Yeah,
talking about the amendment.
to the amendment.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go, Veronica, did you want to talk to the amendment? Or are you talking to
I forgot, so no.
All right, then let's go to, all right, I'll start a new list. Shauna, then Greg.
Yeah, I actually think that makes sense, Dan, because I mean, I look at these automobiles and we're talking about Dodge Durangos, Ford cargo truck, Chevy Bolt. And then I see how much we're actually leasing them for, $20,000 a year.
It's ridiculous.
And I understand that they're outfitted and that costs like $30,000. But still, I mean, we're spending $60,000 on a Dodge Durango, which is crazy to me. And then at the end of 3 years, we have nothing. And I'm assuming that we're probably going to actually have to pay them because there are going to be scratches and dents or whatever. And so, I mean, I think at the end of 3 years, I mean, I personally don't believe in leases, but I just don't think that that's necessarily, sounds like a good deal. And then the other part of it is I certainly would not want our tax levy going up for this. And, you know, unfortunately, I probably won't vote on this anyway because I think we overspent on the airport. So, but I will support. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, Terry, you'd like to make a comment?
So just on that point, Shauna, these leases aren't like your conventional leases that you do as a you know, private citizen. These are equity leases. So all of the money that we're putting into these vehicles, we're building equity in the vehicles. And so when, at the end of that 3 years, there is a small buyout cost to finish the rest of the contract, but then we own the vehicles essentially at that point. So we're not just putting money in and losing all equity on it.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
You want to respond, Dan?
Just a quick question. Does it functionally screw your world up if we were to just purchase the, right? Like I get that there's probably some rationale as to why you went about this path from the get-go.
Yeah.
If we were to take this change in path and fund it via capital funding, like legit capital funding, not just expense funds that happen to be booked in the capital budget, but actual debt, does it mess up something in your universe? That's all. I just want to make sure that I know the ramifications of it.
It doesn't necessarily mess up anything in our universe. It's just the reality is if you bond for a Dodge, you know, the police Dodge Durango right now, you're spending $65,000 this year, or, you know, not I guess this year if you're bonding for it, but you're taking out a bond for that full $65,000. Whereas if you lease it, it's $22,000 this year, right? So the reason why we were leasing is because we're not bonding for vehicles, and it can cut your year-to-year payments down.
Okay, so the answer is like, no, not functionally. It's just a matter of how we account. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, clerks are asking, where are you proposing that this money come from? And wouldn't we need to actually put this through a committee to recommend a capital purchase? And then go to bond council and everybody else?
That is a great question, and that was, I don't know. That's my issue. That's because I'm new and I don't know.
Okay, well, that's fair. But I'm just thinking, Corsa, what do you think? It's got to go through a committee, or you just do something tonight?
I think we just, I believe a year or so ago, we just went into this lease plan, and we haven't had sufficient time to evaluate its effectiveness as compared to buying the vehicles outright yet. I think the motion on the table today is to find additional $300,000 to increase the number of vehicles, the number of new vehicles we can replace this year. For the financial engineering, I would suggest that we bring forward which other funding options are available that we can leverage to finance our long-term vehicle procurement process. It's difficult to provide a direct answer at this point without the sufficient information. We don't know how much it's going to cost us. And I think we have a replacement plan for some of these vehicles in every 3 or 5 years, depending on which department those vehicles are in. So it's a complex set of options that we have to evaluate. And I don't think we can just say we should just borrow right now for this program at this point because of timelines, because some of the vehicles will be, especially with the sheriff vehicle, 3 years, we cannot use it. It will have multiple hundreds of thousands of miles that we have to just get rid of it, sell it off, use the money, put it back into the lease program and to get new vehicles. So there's other options that we explore. So I would suggest that we decide the $300,000, $333,000, if you want to increase the tax levy by that amount, or if you want to fund with the fund balance, that amount of allocation, which will reduce our fund balance availability, as I indicated the last time. It's your decision. Wherever you decide that you want to decide funding model for 2026.
Deborah.
Yeah, I like Dan's idea. I do think it's not as easy as just doing a blanket bond, because our bonds have to correspond to the useful life of whatever asset they're funding, and these vehicles may have very different useful lives. That's the first problem. I do think I'm reluctant to vote for $333,000 worth of fund balance when I know that what's going to happen at the end of this process is you're all going to look at the tax levy increase, you're all going to gag, and you're all going to want to take hundreds of thousands of dollars of fund balance and allocate it to reduce the tax levy. So I'm sorry, but there's no way I'm going to vote for $333,000 now.
Mike Sigler.
I just really have kind of a quick question. I mean, we're talking about all this, I just haven't heard how this is actually saving us money. And if it's not saving us money, I'm not sure why we're talking about it. But if it does save us money, is it like accounting money, or is it actual real dollars that we're saving?
Was that a question for me?
That's a question for anybody who wants to answer.
It's your amendment.
You mean
sure. Corsa, go ahead.
You mean the lease plan, or?
I'm talking about what is being proposed now.
Okay, I
figure we're doing the lease plan for a reason. I'm assuming it's the most cost-effective way to do things. Otherwise, why would we be doing it? But if we're making a change, I'm kind of curious as to will it save money?
Yeah, that's why I indicated earlier that the lease plan is really new. We don't have sufficient data to compare it to the time that we're buying vehicles. What we know for sure is give us opportunity to get newer vehicles than we used to have then. So over, I believe next year or so, we will have a good data to compare if this is cost efficient or if we should revert back to our previous plan of just buying the vehicles outright with cash and outfitting them, and then at the end of if it's useful life, we will sell it off. And if we get anything, we put it back into our vehicle replacement plan and repeat that process. So I cannot say 100% for sure it's saving us money right now, but we think we started this program because we believe we can identify some efficiencies, and also it will help us to right size our vehicle pool to make sure we have a good number of vehicles in place instead of having vehicles in places that maybe staff are not driving and are not using. So it's a holistic program to identify what our needs are and make sure we are right sizing our fleet.
So a rhetorical question, so not to you, but so it's kind of like what Greg said earlier, where we decided on a course of action as the legislature, and now we're trying to change that course of action. Is that correct?
I'll answer.
Okay.
I'll answer since it was my.
That's fine.
Yes, Ann, please respond.
Yes, we decided on this plan. Terry spent years working on this plan and kept working it until we found one, you know, that seemed more cost-effective, reliable. Because if, I know a lot of you go to your municipal meetings and you probably hear the highway supervisors talking about how you get into a certain rotation, it actually saves you money in the long run. Because there's a sweet spot, well, you get the vehicles at a certain discount. We get rebates for some of them. And then there's a certain point where it really makes sense to sell them and get the most amount of money for them before they deteriorate any further. So there's this sweet spot for also getting rid of them too, or passing them on and reselling while we still have a reliable vehicle. So this is the plan to do that. And so I just want to also add that next year we won't have for these leased vehicles, we won't have the upfit and the add-ons because they're already beyond there. So it doesn't mean that this is for these vehicles, you won't have the same lease amount. It'll be less the upfit and the add-ons because that's getting the vehicle ready. So if it's sheriff's department, it's all the things they need to do to make it a sheriff's department and putting all that equipment in there. Or recycling or Department of Emergency, wherever the car goes.
Next, I have Rich John.
Yeah, I'm thinking of that truism that you want to own things that appreciate and lease things that depreciate. But Terry, did you have comment? It seems like this would be really radically changing the plan you've put together to cycle through and lease vehicles. What would it do to your program if one year we suddenly buy them instead of lease them?
I don't know that it would make a functional difference, as Dan said. My priority right now is to try and get the vehicles that we need to keep government operations running, working with the Sheriff's Department, making sure that they have the vehicles that they can get. And so if leasing it would result in a cheaper cost up front to the county that enables us to continue to turn over vehicles, then I support that. If bonding is the direction that the crew wants to go and, there's a potential to save money. I think, one thing that needs to be considered, and I'm not an expert in bonding by any stretch, but our sheriff's vehicles, our pursuit vehicles especially, we try and turn over every 2.5, 3 years. And so I don't know that you can necessarily bond for 2 or 3 years for a sheriff's vehicle necessarily. And so that's something that has to be investigated, but potentially maybe for some of our other vehicles that we hold on to a little bit longer.
Yeah, and just for any members of the public who might have stuck around to actually watch us, a sheriff's department vehicle gets between 30 to 40,000 miles on it a year, but then there's also idle time. And if there's two deputies using a vehicle, you're talking about the car idling for 16 hours a day. These get very hard use, and it's also, these are emergency vehicles. They can sometimes be used at very high speed and in challenging conditions, and we want them to be able to do that. I think we absolutely should try to stay on a cycle. It's the responsible thing to do. The 600,000 is just too big a number. The 333.
We're talking about the amendment, Rich.
Oh, okay. I'll come back to it then. I would not support the amendment. I think we just want to stay with our lease cycle and proceed as we have.
Craig, on the amendment?
Yeah, I was going to say on the amendment, I think we should continue to lease sheriff department vehicles because of the turnover and the use that they get. I think we should look at bonding for some of the other departments that have a longer period hold. What I would like to do in this funding is fund the leasing activities for the sheriff's vehicles, because I think those have the greatest impact on serving our community. While the other ones are tools for those to do their jobs, I would like to look at those as sort of bonding, and then maybe come back to F&I or BCP and have a conversation around if we were to lease these or bond these, where I think this amendment makes more sense. So if this amendment were to be withdrawn, I would like to see the doer facilities, the highway, the mental health, and the RMM, which I'm guessing is recycling material management. Yep. I'd like to see those taken out, replaced with sheriff vehicles, approve a lease amount, and then have any non-sheriff department vehicle have a comparison done between bonding and leasing.
Okay, next we've got
That would be 195.
Randy.
195.
I support the idea of potentially doing capital for some of these vehicles, as Greg mentioned. I just want to mention that for people who are listening, I know that the county consolidated all of our vehicles under one management, which I think was a really good move by the prior legislature. And I know that when we did some of this leasing, it actually did lower our cost, I believe last year, what we were going to spend for buying. So there was a pretty substantial savings for doing that. And that's just my thought on that.
Dan Nolan.
I'll remove the amendment. I like what Greg said. That's functionally what I meant. So Greg's much more eloquent than I am, but and knows what he's doing. So there's that. But yeah, I'll remove the amendment. Can I do that or no?
You're withdrawing your?
Yeah, I'll withdraw it because I think that Corsa made the point that we need to examine it a little bit further.
All right, and that's been okayed by the seconder? Shauna? Okay. All right, then we're back to the main motion. Yes, let's go ahead, Veronica.
Okay, so the main motion, 3 of these vehicles, I guess I have some questions, which I'll maybe direct at Terry, but whoever else answer them. The 3 of the vehicles are listed in Annie's amendment to be purchased. So 4? I don't know what's going on with the facilities one.
It's 3. The mental health vehicle is one that we would lease.
The what?
The mental health vehicle is the one that we would lease.
Yeah. I'm seeing the doer vehicle, the highway, and the recycling and materials management.
There's also a facility, so I misspoke. So 4 vehicles.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know what those extra comments were about. Okay, 4 vehicles. Are those, so is the plan right now to pay for those just out, like, in cash, essentially? And would it be helpful or reasonable to bond for those, any of them?
I don't know anything about bonding. That is not my area of expertise by any stretch. So I would defer to somebody else that has more knowledge on that end. I'll say, each of those vehicles we would keep for more than, we would keep them for probably at least 5 years of the ones that you listed.
Yeah. Daryl, did you have something? No pressure.
Yes, we can bond for vehicles if we are to purchase them. If we are leasing them, we cannot bond for a leased vehicle. Whether or not it makes sense depends on the useful life of the vehicle and what it's being used for, which I can tap into my reference and my resources, which would be the bond counsel and fiscal advisors who advises me. Sorry, lost my train of thought.
Ann Corman.
Okay. Wait, sorry, I have more. If it's
go
okay.
ahead.
Since I heard an idea of swapping out which vehicles would be funded and not, I'm wondering, Terry, can you speak a little more to the reasoning behind the prioritization of, I guess that what we have here, this plan seems to fund, the budget as proposed funds 6 new vehicles on top of ongoing leases. And then Annie's amendment would add in another 11. And then there are another 9 that are in the plan but remain unfunded. And so of the 11, the first 6 priority-wise are all sheriff's pursuit vehicles. I assume those are all, they're not identical things, but they're all kind of equivalent in terms of
So it's
usage and importance?
It's 5 pursuit vehicles, I believe, and then 1 supervisor vehicle. The Tahoe is the supervisor vehicle.
Oh, right, okay. So the Tahoe's on the other side of the page.
I know, it gets a little tricky. It gets cut off because it's at
Okay.
the very bottom there.
And then are you able to articulate, oh, you can that, but like what the other 5 vehicles are used for? Just since I assume these are also tools for people to do their jobs.
Yeah, so the Dewar Grand Cherokee that we were looking at, and so it's a so right now, Mike Steitley is very nicely driving a 2010 Chevy Traverse that smells like fish and doing a great service to the county. It's a terrible vehicle and we should probably replace it, but he's been nice enough to hold on to it so that his staff can have a much better vehicle. And, so that vehicle, we would probably look to try and bring down the line. We've discovered that the Chevy Cherokees that we got for the Rapid Medical Response Program just aren't really quite the vehicle that we're looking for in that case. And so I've been talking with Dewar about a whole plan to try and rearrange things and bring vehicles down the line and hopefully eventually get Mike out of that vehicle. The facilities would be, I believe, for the supervisor for their cleaners, Lori, so that she can make it to the different sites around the county and do the supervisory tasks that she does on behalf of facilities. The highway, I wish Nick was here, it's either an engineering truck or a supervisor's truck. Mental health, they only have 1 current vehicle at this time. They need additional vehicles for site visits. They were doing increased site visits at this point. And then the recycling and materials management vehicle would be their second truck that they would use for site visits, for trash enforcement, things of that nature is my understanding.
Okay, thank you. And is simply going without a vehicle, like not postponing replacement, but just straight up not having that vehicle at all? Is that an option in any of these cases reasonably?
I mean, so as you can see, all these vehicles are replacing something else. The danger that we run into is if the vehicle breaks down and we don't have a replacement for it. And then we're having to, basically scramble and either, double up for departments. They just are down a vehicle and they have to figure it out. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Or if we're replacing vehicles at other departments, I can manage to shift things around. So Dewar just got rid of a truck that we were able to pass on to the sheriff's office. We do try and do some of that. With the sheriff's office, going without a vehicle, I don't know if one of you want to speak. I think it would be difficult at this point.
Are the sheriff's vehicles also replacing existing vehicles?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll say the reason it's not listed is because what exactly it'll replace changes pretty frequently based on, we just had a vehicle get wrecked. We found out that the Chargers have rotting frames, so it's a moving target.
That makes sense. Thank you.
If Greg, then Deborah.
Terry, do you know how many total vehicle available hours we have to everyone outside of, I'll say non-emergency personnel?
I'm trying to compute that, I guess.
I guess I'm trying to get to the utilization rate.
ChatGPT asks.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My friend Chat here. Sometimes if I say certain words, it kicks on. Is the vehicle utilization rate, right? Of the time available to departments, because one of the things, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, I know everybody likes to have their own car, but how many people use the 3 assessment cars today?
Yeah. So,
right? And so, it's really not maybe a question just yet. In that, there's probably some capacity for sharing, especially in tough budget years.
Yeah.
Would you agree that we have capacity within our fleet? To some extent?
To an extent, and I'll say we already do share. For instance, JR Claiborne has asked multiple years to get a vehicle for veteran services. Unfortunately, we can't we can't give that request on these tough budget years, and so he's been sharing a vehicle. The administration has a vehicle that they lend out to everyone. Finance, HR have all used that vehicle. The planning vehicle gets utilized by any department. Assessment often lends out their vehicle, ITS, and so for especially the departments that are close together, that's easier to accommodate.
Sure.
The vehicles that probably may need more utilization might be at like the health department, for instance, and it's difficult for a staff member at, say, HR or, downtown to then get up to the health department to utilize one of their vehicles. And so the utilization's maybe perhaps a little bit uneven, but that's due to location more than anything.
Okay, so we're never going to really leave somebody hanging. Because if somebody really needed a vehicle, we could go rent a vehicle for them to utilize till we had a replacement or one was repaired, right?
Yeah, potentially we could do that.
So I guess my point is, some of these things are nice to have, and some of these things are have to have. I'm a believer that emergency response vehicles we have to have, and some of the other vehicles, depending on the year, could be nice to have. So I'm going to make an amendment, which I think will have more traction, and then I'm going to reserve the right to make an additional amendment later. I like Ann's number, 300.
Make one amendment.
I know. It's going to be on a different amendment to the administrator's budget. I like the 333,000 number, but I think right now I want to go with just funding the sheriff's vehicles. So I would move that we just fund on this sheet that we were provided.
173.
Is that what it?
175.
170 something. We can calculate here in a second, but I would move to fund those, and the other items I would ask that we evaluate the purchase bond, et cetera, like I mentioned before. But I'd still also then like to just anecdotally reserve the right to potentially, depending on where the levy number comes in, reintroduce some additional sheriff's numbers or sheriff's vehicles to get us to that 333 number, but I think we need to make some progress. So I will move forward with the top 6 in this amendment, and then eliminating Dewar Facilities, Highway, Mental Health, and Recycling Materials Management from Ann's amendment.
Is there a second? Seconded by Deborah. Greg, you don't need to reserve the right to.
No, I know. I'm just telling you my intentions for later.
Okay, but I just wanted to make sure you understand it. It's perfectly all right to do that in the future. So now we're 100 and, what's the figure, 170? I'll get you, Amanda, just a second.
5? Yeah. Okay.
175? And that's to be allocated to those sheriff's vehicles that you mentioned.
That's correct.
Or is there a second?
I seconded it.
Seconded, okay. Now I've got Amanda.
Okay, so 2 clarifications. You said the first 6. Does that include the one on the other side that doesn't, oh.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going off of this.
Yes, Amanda. It's that one on the bottom of the other side of, if you have the blue sheet, and then the 5 on the next sheet.
It's a Tahoe and 5 Durangos.
Okay, great. And then, per our discussion earlier, 175,000 in the tax.
From the levy.
Okay.
Yes, because we're going to decide later what funds the levy.
Oh, I see.
Okay, who else had their hand up on this, on the amendment? Randy?
I think I'll vote for that amendment, but Chair, it'd be really helpful. I agree with Rich. We need to have a replacement schedule for our vehicles. So if you could update your vehicle sheet and forward it to us to show, the age of all these vehicles and however that looks, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we have replacement schedules for every department, and we annually get back together with the departments and discuss changes and redo it, so we can flesh that out again.
Okay, anyone else? All right. On the amendment to reduce this to 175,000, and that's again to come from fund balance. Is that my understanding?
No, affects that number.
Affects the levy.
Levy.
You're making it a levy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an ongoing lease expense.
Spending more money.
It should be an operating expense because it's an ongoing lease activity.
These are leases. Maybe I'm not understanding that.
These are leases, yes. My understanding is that the sheet that we have in front of us is the projected cost is the cost of the annual lease payment, Terry?
All right. So then that
Minus the add-ons next year.
Minus the add-ons next year.
Then it's a target. I'm sorry, I got to use target. Those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those opposed?
I think you got some.
Wait a minute. Let's have your hands again. Those in favor of the amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That passes. All right, so that becomes the main motion, 175,000. Do we have further discussion on the main motion? Veronica.
Just, I guess, regarding the wanting of like replacement rotation schedule, Terry, are you saying that you have one right now?
Yeah, for every department, we've gone through and we've done replacement cycles, and that's how we decide what vehicles to purchase on any given year, or purchase and lease.
So if we were following the cycle this year, if we were going to follow the cycle this year, what vehicles would that involve?
It would be the entirety of this list, so all the priorities in addition to everything else that's on here. And there's actually some other stuff that knowing going into this, it was going to be a difficult budget year that we didn't put in. Like the planning vehicle is technically up for replacement, but we discussed that we don't actually need to do that at planning.
Okay, so that's helpful to know that we're choosing to just jump off the schedule, I guess.
All right, on the main motion then, for 175,000, reducing this, well, that's what's been offered, is 175, down from 605, down from 333. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 to 4, that passes. Okay, Ann, your next is the increase for travel and training out of planning, $4,000.
Yes, I'm going to, I'd like to wait on that one because we have another one regarding adding money to travel training for all employees through human resources.
Well, do you want to move the other one, or have someone move that?
Yes. I'd like whoever
Dan
did that one.
Me.
That one.
That was me.
Dan, you want to? All right, let's take that from Dan then. Let's see if we can get these together.
Dan Klein, just for the record.
Dan Klein.
I would like to move countywide travel and training, restoring part of the budget, $20,494 from Target. So moved, and if it's seconded, I would like to ask Ruby to come up and talk with us.
Seconded by Veronica. Do you want, before we start talking, or do you want to hear from Amanda first? Ruby?
Yeah, I'd
Going
like
to
to hear
talk to us, I think.
Ruby.
Go ahead, Dan.
Ruby, did you want to start anything, or you just want to answer questions?
Okay, I can start. There were some questions asked the other night that I can kind of give a brief description of. I'm not sure if Norma was able to send it to everyone, but I will just read them. I gave it to her quite late this afternoon. Okay, so based upon the questions asked at the last meeting, I've just written this up. In the past, many departments included travel training in their operational budgets, especially for mandated or required training. But over the course of time, whenever reductions or cuts had to be made, that line would be eliminated or reduced. In 2008, the county administrator at that time established a budget line for SmartWorks within HR department. And that was for departments to work with the contractor from TC3 to learn how to work more efficiently with smaller budgets. That budget line transitioned to a countywide fund in HR to assist departments that didn't have travel training lines for conferences, seminars, and or training. In 2020, the countywide training line was severely depleted on the condition that the fund would be replenished in intervals during subsequent budget years. In 2024, the budget line was replenished to a total of $124,069 to be used for professional development, conferences, and training for departments without a specified training line or to supplement a departmental cost. With the 2024 budget line of $124,069, HR made a concerted effort to ensure departments and employees were made aware of the training funds and to assure that the funds were made available for as many departments as possible. In total, funds were approved for 81 individual requests for conferences and skill development, 3 leadership coaching requests for performance improvement plans, and 4 department group training requests spread over 21 departments. With the 5% budget reduction in the travel training line in 2025, funds were restricted to requests that demonstrated a county-wide or multi-department benefit. This reduction was to be offset by the training and development coordinator position that was tasked with designing, coordinating, facilitating, and evaluating a countywide training and development program that included in-house and free training opportunities for all county employees. The countywide fund is open to all county employees with approval of the department head. Employees must complete a request form identifying the conference, seminar, or training desired, the start and end dates, a description and copy of a brochure of announcement, a description of how the activity will benefit the organization and or improve their knowledge and skills, and itemized expenses. The employee also has to identify any additional funds contributing to that activity. All training requests are reviewed on a case-by-case basis for alignment with organizational priorities and strategic objectives. The criteria for approval, the availability of funds. Approval is contingent upon the availability of budgeted training resources at the time of the request. Job relevance. Training must be directly related to the employee's current role, responsibilities, or identified development goals within their department. And last, their past funding history. Consideration is given to the number and cost of previous training requests approved for that employee to ensure there's equitable access to resources across the organization. So basically, the countywide training fund in HR was used for professional and skill development to attend conferences. The mandated requirement trainings were usually in the department's operational budgets. However, if they needed supplemental funds, we would provide that if it was available. And I think those were the questions asked for the previous meeting.
Thank you.
Are there additional questions?
Shauna?
I think there were questions in regards to if having a department line item and then having a human resources. I think my concern was that whenever you have the human resources, it places human resources in an awkward position of either approving or not approving, and it could feel kind of like the Hunger Games for our employees all going for the same training funds.
Yes, and there's a distinction between mandated required training and professional development, skill development. With the latter category, we can determine based upon their job categories. With mandated training, that discretion is usually up to the department head who is aware of what training is required and when it's required, or when that employee needs to have that training. So if HR was trying to determine that, it would put us in an awkward situation, because how would I decide that required training for one department is more necessary than another department? Again, required mandated training. I still want to make that distinction.
Ann Corman.
And then you said also, Ruby, thank you for coming to explain all that to us. So regarding, you said countywide or multiple department benefit was another category of requirement.
No, that was for the countywide training fund for this year, because we reduced it 5%. We restricted, there were no individual requests that were honored. So if an employee asked for training funds just specifically for them, we said no to it. The request had to show a countywide benefit. For instance, we had several complaints about front office staff. So we were able to hold a training for all front office staff who were able to attend. That's the countywide benefit.
Right.
A multi-department benefit would be if two or more departments came together in a request and asked for funds.
So for, say, a department to come for professional development or to come to go to a conference that's keeping up on the latest housing benefits,
we did not do that this year.
Right, that's what I thought I understood from hearing from departments.
Right,
So,
we did not do that this year.
Okay.
It had to be if it was a conference for multi-departments, say for all public safety departments.
Right.
Or all social services department where it had some necessary training, we would assist in. But the fund was down to like $54,000. And when you consider travel and training, the registration costs, that could easily be $5,000, $6,000 per person.
And then for this year, pardon me, how much is in the county-wide travel training that was approved?
The approved was the same level of training funding as the last year. That would be that $54,000.
$54,000, and this is adding $20,000 to it.
We requested an additional $20,000 to do more, but it was not included in the recommended budget, and I did not follow up with a subsequent request.
So for the $50,000, let's say that, the pot that you have already, is that the restrictions for that, is that countywide or multiple department benefit?
Unless given directions otherwise.
Right, so not those
otherwise
other things
we
that
would
I
do
said.
it on a first come, first served basis.
Right.
And it may be over by March or April of the year.
But it has to be a countywide or multiple department benefit.
That's what we determined for 2025, based upon that level of funding.
And in 2025, it was $50,000.
$54,000. It's the same level that is being recommended for 2026.
Okay, but it would all come under that. All right, thank you.
Right.
Amanda.
Thanks, Ruby. And you gave me the sheet, so I appreciate that. So a couple of questions then. So this 20,000 amendment, that would go into the pot that you're talking about that's for some of those interdepartmental things and that pot. Okay.
If we follow the same direction that we did this year.
Okay, and do you want that, 20,000?
I would love to be able to open it up to more individual requests. So we would probably do kind of, if we could keep it level at 54 and then make 20,000 available for individual requests. But again, that would be on a first come, first served basis. And when it's gone, it's gone.
So as I'm understanding, this is very different than these other little 4,000, 11,000 in each department.
Right, because I don't know what purpose those smaller funds per each department has been requested for.
Thank you very much.
Okay, on Dan's proposal to add $20,494 to the Human Resources budget. Ready to vote? Those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. That passes. Now go back, Ann, to your 4,000. What are you going to do with that?
Yeah, since this would be for a different purpose, I'd like to do that one. So this is amendment number 16. This is for the Department of Planning and Sustainability, a request to add 4,000 to their 4,000 amount for their travel training that was already approved for 2026, and that's in Target. So see if there's a second for that.
Is there a second? Seconded by Dan Klein. Amanda?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to vote against all these travel training ones. I'm not sure what the point of cutting back on the budget was if we're going to just add it all back in. So they're small amounts. I would like folks to have the opportunities to go to trainings, but I just don't think we can add everything back in.
Other comments? Ann?
Yes, as I said a little bit before about our overall budget, we haven't kept up, when we had, was it 1.6 million added to our local cost for Medicaid, we should have raised our tax levy by at least 6%. I'm sorry, 3% for that, and for some other mandates that we've had come down from the state, we haven't raised it. And so our revenue to cover that, and we're adding people. I mean, I don't know how many staff people we've added so far. And so we're not giving people the tools to do their jobs. We're not keeping up on their facilities. We're not going to give them travel training. We don't want to keep up their vehicles. We're looking at, having difficulty retaining and recruiting people. And so to be stripping them away bit by bit, I think that we're not keeping up with what we're taking care of our employees and giving them the tools to do that job. And I think for each person in the planning department, they have some new people there that have been there for 2 or 3 years, and they're now ready to finally go out. And they don't have them go out to trainings when they first start there. They let them get their feet wet and start to do their work, figure out their job, and then after 2 or 3 years, they're ready to go out and access training. We've had, if you're following along with Peak and other committees, you've seen where they're able to go out and access grants that they didn't hear about, or new ways of doing things that are cost effective or innovative, for whether it's our housing, whether it's our center of government. We're going to be wanting our employees to figure out how to get, grants for that. And we're not letting them go out to find out this information. So I think we're, again, not giving our staff the ability to do their jobs professionally. So I think we, need to balance that out. And as I said before, we should have already raised our taxes. We haven't, and now we're cutting back little by little with or actually a lot with our employees, and I don't think that's fair to them. And it's going to hurt us in the next few years too. We can't just keep hiring people and then not giving them the tools.
Amanda?
Yeah, I take exception to the fact that I don't want to give people these things. I want to give everybody everything on this list. I don't think it's reasonable or makes sense to raise our tax levy so much for travel and training. So please don't put words in my mouth that I don't want to do this.
I wasn't speaking specifically to you. I was addressing the chair.
Thank you. All right, so are we ready to vote on this one? Which is adding $4,000 to the planning department's budget for travel and training. Those in favor? 1, 2, 3. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That fails. Dan, do you want to go to information technology, travel and training?
I don't know, do I want to? Okay, so yeah, I mean, yes, I would like to move that.
All right, is there a second? Seconded by Shauna.
Obviously, the mood in the room is different, but I'm just going to say what I was going to say anyway, which is I would characterize our employee salary as okay, not great, not terrible. We can't really give them more money. Everything's kind of, union and civil service and all that. Their jobs are really hard. People work really hard here. There's not much we can do about that. They work with difficult people. They work in difficult situations. There's not much we can do about that. A lot of these departments are working under state regulations, which don't always make sense, are difficult to work under. We can't do much about that, but here's something we can do something about. Here's something that would be good for morale and good to improve the quality of our employees. That's my pitch.
Shauna, did we get a second? Okay, Shauna seconded.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually glad that each one of these training asks are being done separately. And I think that information technology is absolutely crucial to the operations of this county. And what we're seeing, just got back from NISEC, and what we're seeing is that foreign governments are trying to hack into our databases. They mentioned China, Iran, and Russia. And the technology is constantly changing. The hackers are getting smarter. And the one thing that we have to make sure our employees are equipped with are the tools to make sure that we're not hacked, because one hack can take us down for days or weeks or hold us for ransom, and it's happening to many governments around us. And so I think as far as training goes, this is one that is absolutely essential for us to continue to operate. All of us, most of us have computers that we're using that are supported by IT, and we have to make sure that our employees are equipped with the newest knowledge that's going around and what other governments are seeing. So I would support this training.
And Greg?
I echo much of what Shauna said, and I see Kim is on the screen. So Kim, thank you for being here. If we look historically at the travel and training line, and again, I'm just looking at ITS at its consolidated level because that's the easiest one to look at. In 23, it was 10.9 or almost 11. In 24, it was 17.3. In 25, we approved 14. The ask is for 26. Recommended was 13. This would bring it up to 23. My question for you, Kim, if there was 5,500 instead of 11, would that make a difference? Or is there something that costs a certain amount of money that we have to, or we should be doing? Or would an incremental increase, this year be somewhat helpful?
Yes, any amount would be helpful. And I appreciate you asking those questions because we do spend a lot of time. For example, we were in a tabletop exercise this morning talking about preparedness. And while our team is really adept at learning on the fly, when we're in a crisis situation, we want to be focusing on using our skills and getting the problem solved and not trying to learn skills on the fly. It's as Shauna said, it is hard for us to keep pace with the current technology. It's changing faster than any IT can keep up with. And it is important for retention, too, that we have this ability to offer trainings. And the concept was with a team of 13, we had around $1,000 per person. We were looking to double that to $2,000 per person, and I'll tell you that that's really not even enough. What that means is we allow a few of the team each year to take on a conference or a certification or something to that effect. And other people just are basically put on hold for that year. So circling back to your direct question, any amount is helpful. There's just a straight up no other way to say it, but yes, we would appreciate any amount of funding we could get for training.
Okay, thank you.
Randy?
Yeah, I support this. This is really important. And technology is not only for our employees, it's for all of our constituents. I mean, that's their primary way to communicate with us is through the internet, through our websites. And I think this is really important. And if that went down, that'd be a problem for them as well.
Anyone else? Okay, on the motion to add $11,000 to the travel and training for information technology, those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That fails. Greg?
Mike, I'd like to move that we add $5,500 to ITS travel and training budget as an amendment.
Is there a second? Seconded by Rich. Discussion.
It's 5,500.
5,500.
Discussion. Rich?
I was raising my hand to suggest a lower number. 5,500 is fine. I really think we should do something here, but I share Amanda's concern that we're just making very hard decisions, but. Yeah.
Ready to vote? On $5,500 to the information technology budget for travel and training, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That passes.
Thank you.
Shauna, $155. Really surprised to see something that small here.
Well, all money is green, Mike.
So, is that what country you're from?
Well, that's true. I wanted to make an amendment, and essentially I did want to find out more about this, but to remove the $255 increase from 2025 from county administration. And I so move.
Is there a second? Seconded by Deborah.
And essentially the thought of that was that every other budget has received a decrease in training. And I wanted to make sure that that was consistent with our county administration as well.
Amanda?
Is it supposed to say the NISAC, or I don't know what NISAC is?
This is New York State Association of Self-Insured Counties.
Okay.
So this is the event that is attended by the county's only compliance officer, Jesse.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, on the, ready to vote?
I think I was interested to hear if there was justification for that or what the reason for the increase was.
Someone want to speak to that from administration?
I will try. Is my understanding that one way or the other, we're going to have to figure out how to send her to this because we have to have it for her certification. So if it gets cut, we're going to have to find another place in our budget to make it work. Okay. She has to do that.
Okay, I'm going to withdraw that then. Thank you.
Is that okay with the seconder?
If that's all right.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Rich?
Thank you, Mike.
Tompkins County Public Library, $96,570.
Yes, I would move an amendment to increase funding to the Tompkins County Public Library in the amount of $96,570, and if I can get a second, I'd speak to it.
Seconded by Amanda.
No question, this is a really difficult ask this year. However, I'd ask us to go back a year where we cut all the budgets by 5%, and then we went back in our budget cycle last year and restored a lot of that. We did not do that for the TCPL. And in fact, we ended up doing an additional cut to help fund the rural libraries from the TCPL last year. And my thinking on that is that we were really wanting to send a clear message, and I think we did send one. 2025 has been a signal year of change for the library. I think they've taken the message very seriously and have made substantial changes. Of course, one of our number is acting as the interim director there. I see her here tonight. I think she's there for another 3 days. Okay. And thank you for your service. We've reconstituted a good part of the board of directors. And I see also that Sarah Glagowski from the Finger Lakes Library Service is here. There was a serious question this past year of whether the Tompkins County Public Library would remain the central library for the 31 or 33 libraries in our system. The Finger Lakes Library System agreed to bet on the TCPL to continue as a central library, and I believe that creates an obligation on us to make sure we are able to serve those needs. And for that purpose, this $96,570 would pay for a senior clerk position and a clerk position, which would help obviously with functioning of the library, but also to integrate and provide the services as a central library to all of the other participating libraries. The only other thing I'd add is that I talked to Susan, and she indicated that in 2017, and I know this is pre-pandemic, there were 42.6 head count at the TCPL, and today we're at 35.5. They're really thin, and if we want this to be an outstanding library, and I think we all do, we do need to make sure we're supporting it properly, and for that reason, I make the amendment.
Amanda, then Travis.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I had put in for this as well. I think that the library's had a couple of hard years, and as you said, we gave a very strong signal last year, and it was heard, and I think we need to give another strong signal this year that we want to invest in the library again. We heard numerous folks at the public forum who spoke in favor of the library. And I would just add that the Tompkins County Public Library can't get money from anywhere else. It's us, it's the city, and it's the town. And the city of Ithaca and the town of Ithaca don't give very much and don't want to give very much. It's our library and we have to fund it. They can't go out for grants, they can't ask, there's nowhere else to get money. Whereas, you know, a lot of nonprofits and outside agencies, they can go to other places and get funding. So I have always supported the library. I'm glad to see it moving in a better direction now, and I will, of course, support this.
Let's see, next we've got Travis.
You know, I would like to fund both positions, but I can't. And I would like to hear from Susan, to hear from her, to let us know which one would be a priority for her, but I can't fund both.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I remember, is there, oh yeah, there it is, a big basket of candy. Favorite part of budget season. Thank you for considering this. I will just follow up with what Rich said. At the end of 2020, there was a unit within the library of 8 people, specifically focused on ordering, processing, and getting the collections out into the library. We now have 3 staff ordering, processing, and getting the physical collection out. And as you know, we have to, we are working to restore the central library, all of those collections that were withdrawn. So there is a big need for these positions. Right now, the library has no senior clerks, so if I had to go for one, that's the one I'd go for, is the senior clerk. I think the library needs to have, well, looking forward to a new director, but I think there needs to be a deep review of staffing throughout the library and how it's organized. I've offered to help with that when the new director starts. I don't know if you have any other questions for me. Thank you, Rich, for sponsoring this.
Thanks for all you're doing. Do you have the number in mind for the senior out of that 96,570? I think you put it to me in an email.
I did, and I have a chart over in my, do you guys mind if I take time to go get it?
Yeah, okay. Please.
While that's happening, Travis, can I go to Randy?
Sure. Susan's my favorite person, so I apologize in advance. So you know, I'm a numbers guy, and so I looked at the Tompkins County audit for 24, and their revenue in 24 was $5,092,000. Their expenses were $3.87 million. So they increased their change in position by $1.2 million. So and now I'm looking at their fund balance, what that did. And also, I will say that they do get money from a few other places. They get Friends of the Library and Library Foundation, but those revenues were down $150,000 in 2024, just to let you, so there are. But if you look at their fund balance, it increased from 2023 from 1.7 million to 2.155 million. They did put $450,000 in assigned fund balance. The prior year in 23, it was $180,000, but even still, their unassigned balance is $1.5 million. So I would suggest you take money from your fund balance and fill those positions. I mean, the fund balance isn't necessary for that kind of money because the county pays for the building. We pay any kind of building expenses. I believe we pay for insurance as well. And it's on our dime to fix anything that goes wrong, whether it's an air conditioning unit or whatever it may be. So there's nothing drastic that could possibly happen that we don't have to pay for, to my understanding. So I just don't see why we would, when they've got such a huge $2.155 million of a budget of $5 million, that we would want to fund this. I really strongly believe in the library, but I think you've got money there to fund these positions. You can come back a year now, 2 years, if it changes. And also I looked at your budget for this year through the end of June, and you're $50,000 under budget through June of this year.
Let's go back to
I was going to say, can I respond?
to Susan, yes,
Yeah.
and she's got some information.
So the one
for
thing
us
about the fund balance is that is limited funds, and having staff on fund balance money is risky. And at my budget presentation, I did talk about the budget impacts that we would use the fund balance for. So we have to have a complete replacement of all of the computer equipment in the library. That's huge. There may be increases into security. I mean, I remember when we voted on permanent funding for some of the security, but the increases were not built into that. So that's coming out of fund balance. And there are, I think I gave 5 different things that we would be doing with the fund balance. The computers are the huge thing, security, the programming, we're taking programming out of the fund balance. So the fund balance is going to be used for a lot of money. I don't have that total with me right now, but at some point I can get that for you. So we are using the fund balance. And one of the things that I think I noted at my budget presentation is that we didn't ask for funding for all these things because we have a big fund balance and the library does need to use it. So I think that's going to be gone pretty soon. Oh, no, also it was for the retroactive pay for the living wage, and it will be for retroactive for salary pay because contracts are in negotiation right now. So there will be a huge chunk of that fund balance that will be used for it. And I know that at the public comment, there was a comment about the amount spent in legal fees. That came out, that amount was not quite right. But I will tell you that the fund balance is what pays for that, not the budget from the county. So it concerns me to put staff on fund balance money simply because it's non-recurring.
Did you have a response about the question that Travis had?
Yeah, the senior clerk is the one I would pick. If
Did
you're,
you have the figure?
Oh, it's, you know, I don't have an annualized, it's 25, let me just look. I should have brought that for you. I can send that to you. We don't have any senior clerks right now, but the hourly wage is $27.06 at 35 hours. If somebody has a calculator.
I got you.
Probably, I'm going to guess.
49,000 to
Yeah, I was going to say
49,20.
just under 50. Yeah,
Plus fringe.
I'm sorry.
Plus fringe.
Right, and I think the library would have to pick that up.
Susan is proposing that the library would cover fringe. Okay.
Travis, are you finished, or did you want to make any kind of amendment?
I would make an amendment to fund the position, the senior clerk at 49.
Is there a second for the amendment to the amendment? Seconded by Amanda Champion. Discussion on the amendment. Veronica?
I'll say what I was going to say for the whole thing anyway, because it's an argument, I guess, against the amendment to the amendment and for the original amendment. Other people talked about why to fund the library, but just to add in one little library story from very recently, which highlights some stuff that we heard from public commenters about how the library isn't just books, or we heard it from I don't know, a lot of people. It's not just books in a building, but really the heart of it is the staff and the various services that they provide and the way that they share the contents of the library, physical or otherwise, with people. And the other day I was there for a candidates forum in the Borg Warner room, which, by the way, best room for events, free and accessible. There are not that many places to host things just in this county that are wheelchair accessible, downtown, open to the public. But then I stayed after for a while. You thought I was leaving, I went back in. And sat working on the jigsaw puzzle they have out there, because that was nice. And during this time, I was in earshot of the help desk, and not like actively eavesdropping, but kind of eavesdropping. And some things that I heard were someone come in to ask where he could find a book, but he didn't remember the title or anything, just kind of described it. And the person looked it up on their computer, found the book correctly, I guess. And he was like, that's it. Gave him the call number, he went off to get it. I heard some chatter between multiple staff about how surprisingly often they're able to do that. Someone comes in with a vague description of a book and they find it for them. I saw a person who's currently unhoused, having woken up from a nap in the library and getting just supported by the staff there. One of the security guards came over to gently tell them, hey, did you notice someone left a note on your cart out front? Just like a hi, I came by. It was, I saw just ad hoc care and familiarity. I also heard the person at the desk, and the people were switching around, but someone answered the phone to receive a call for a request for a service I didn't even know the library gave, which was like computer 101 support. This person, I could only hear one end of the call, but this person was clearly asking to sign up for a session to help with computers. The library staff member was asking, like, oh, do you have an email for the confirmation email? And this person did not have an email, did not use email, but was gonna get to come in for free and have someone help them with some basic skills. And just the breadth of service and the knowledge and the kindness of the people there was, it was impressive, and I loved it, and I wanted to stay there all day, but I think we had a meeting here tonight. Anyway, so I guess I would support the original amendment funding both positions, and also note that the amount of money for both these positions, at least to us from the county, is comparable to the amount of money for one position for many of the other positions we've been considering. So it's sort of like a 2-for-1.
Thank you. May I?
Donna.
I was going to say,
I guess my question goes back to our previous conversation. If we fund this and we put it to target, are we funding this indefinitely for the rest of our lives? Or are we funding this for next year?
I think I believe it's increasing target.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Tim?
Yes.
Yes, we are funding it forever?
Forever.
There's no forever. You can make different decisions at any point in time. So you can have new set of legislators next year who will decide that we're going to do something drastic to a different department or somewhere else. So
but unless you do a deep dive of their budget, you're not going to know what we funded starting this year versus what was already in their existing budget.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. I just want to say, Susan, thank you for everything you've done for the library. I mean, we've seen such drastic reports over the time that you've been there, and I think all of us were very concerned about the library, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months ago. And your staff has really risen to the occasion. So I just want to provide that kudos. I'm not going to be able to support this tonight because we overspent in other areas, but the airport. But I do want you to know that, we definitely value the work that you do.
thank you. I will just say that the staff have risen to the occasion, because the library, without the staff, it's just a building with books. It's the staff who make everything accessible to the public. And in this world, every time there's something new, a new service, a new technology, none of the old stuff goes away. So the range of expertise that the staff had that Veronica was talking about is pretty amazing. And they understand what has happened, and they have really pulled together and have worked really hard to reconnect with the community, with the Finger Lakes Library System, and to provide the services that the community wants and needs.
I've got Greg, then Amanda.
Thanks, Susan. And I appreciated my tour ad hoc a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago at this point. It is pretty incredible what that space is able to do and how the staff bring it to life. I have a question about the funding streams. Does the city of Ithaca provide funds for the library?
The city of Ithaca has, we have to request it each year, but they have in the past, it's been not consistent every year, but they have provided, last year they gave 15,000. The town also gave 15,000. It was used for programming.
And so in the 26 budget for the city, is there an ask from the library?
I've asked both the city and the town. As a matter of fact, I'm giving the mayor a tour of the makerspace tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday afternoon.
Okay, so they haven't decided on their allocation?
They have not.
Yeah. And then as it relates to rural libraries, those are funded through those municipalities?
Yes, some of them are school tax libraries, some of them are village. I mean, each one is a little bit different, but they're also part of that Finger Lakes Library System, and so they get some of that through them, yeah.
So there is precedent that a municipality would contribute sizably to the operation of its library?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda?
Point of information, just if you look on page 23 of the budget book, the sales tax flow chart, there is a section where it's agreed that a portion of the city's penny goes to the TCPL, so there's some funding coming from that as well.
Do you know how much that is?
It shows as 0.85% of 25% of 1 penny. Does that help?
So annualized, that's a negative number?
5 cents.
Got it.
That the library has to pay them.
Okay. Was I up next?
Amanda's next, then Mike Sigler.
Let's see, I was going to say different things, but yeah, to your point, Greg, in the past, we've asked, when I can distinctly remember George McGonigal and pushing him, and he said, well, it's the Tompkins County Public Library, so they think that we should fund it, and they give very little. The town of Ithaca as well, the town of Ithaca doesn't have its own separate library, and they give a meager about $10,000 a year, which is nothing, basically. I think that both the town and the city should contribute quite a lot more.
They each give 15, they gave 15,000.
15 last year.
That was more than they did in years past.
In the past, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Whopping 15. I think I was going to say, I mean, obviously I would love to have both positions, but if we can fund just one of them and that gets enough votes, then I'm for that.
Mike Sigler.
Hi, I have 3 questions, actually. The former head of the library, she spent a good amount of money on these 2 systems that were supposed to kind of revolutionize the way you check in books or check out books. There was an electronic system.
RFID.
It was, what was it called?
RFID.
RFID. And that was supposed to save a great deal of money. I mean, does that system work? Is that in place?
So it's a radio frequency ID, and it's something that libraries use quite often. We did it when I was up at Cornell. It was in the hotel library. It is more like an inventory control system, but it also is used for checkout. Yes, it is a good system. And actually that system was started before the director, and she finished it.
Okay.
And implemented it. So that allows, it allows a better tracking of the materials. So I think that had been paid for earlier.
But it
and
was
was
touted
finished.
as it was going to be a cost saver. Is it just not a cost saver?
Well, I haven't sat down and done any numbers with RFID. It's a system like the checkout system. And typically you require, so it's part of the circulation system, basically.
Right.
So it depends on what kind of cost savings I could do. You could look into the cost savings RFID in a number of ways. It's intended as an inventory control. I haven't done any inventory assessment since I've been there in this 6 months.
Right.
But my guess is that it's a much more efficient and updated way to manage the collection.
Okay.
I think that was a good thing to do.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. It's just, it doesn't seem to have accomplished one of its main goals, which was
Well,
to save money.
I don't know, I don't remember that was said, so I can't really speak to it. So you're saying that there was a position of that would save money?
Yeah, well, that was one of the things. You also said that you're down about 14 people from about 7 years ago. I mean, we haven't cut your budget. I mean, we only cut the budget last year about 5%. So I understand salaries have gone up, but we haven't blown out 14 people worth of money from the
So
library.
that was from 2017 that you're talking about that Rich said.
And it was 42.6 to
Yeah.
35.5.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't 14.
Okay.
Yeah, and also though, what I did is I took a look at what happened in 2020. So I'm more focused on it because I think that probably, in any organization, the director should do a constant evaluation of operations, procedures, staffing, and is this working? What do we need to change? What do we need to shift? My observation in the 6 months is that the unit that was responsible for ordering, processing, and making available the collection, either digital or in print, was 8 people, and now it's 3 people.
Okay.
And that is of a big concern since we are the central library for 33 libraries in 5 counties. And at this point, we're down, I don't think we need 40 staff or 45 or whatever it was you said, but we do need more than we have right now. And we need that to get the collections out, ordered, if we're working with Finger Lakes to restore the collection and to make it available, we need the staff to process it.
Okay. My last question is just about the new head. I mean, where you're leaving, we're sorry to see you go.
We're having a meeting about that tomorrow.
Okay. Are we close to something?
Yeah, you'd have to ask the chair of the search committee.
Okay.
Okay, we've got 2 more. We're still talking about Travis's amendment to the amendment. And I have Ann Corman and Randy Brown, and then let's try to get to a vote. Randy's saying he's passing. Ann?
Yeah, thank you. So one question I had from a resident was about, could you use more volunteers? And I know you do have a robust set of volunteers. Could you use volunteers to do other tasks that could free up people to do the tasks you need to do? So just want to.
There are pretty strict civil service regulations about having volunteers do staff-related jobs. We're not allowed to do that. But we did just start the volunteer program up against called Program Partners. But it does actually help a great deal. It does help the library a lot. It doesn't mean that we don't still need these staff members. But they do things like make sure that the books are in order, make sure they're shelved appropriately. They help with programming. So I think we just sent it. You have so much to read, and I remember this, but I believe we just sent to the legislature the update where we have our brand new program partners. So we're starting to get a lot of interest in volunteers. They went away for a while, and now they're starting to come back.
Okay, but overall, it seems like volunteers are doing as much as they can.
Yeah, and there's a lot for them. There's a lot for them to do. We need a lot of volunteers to help with programming. So
you could use some more. So
yes, there's this great program called Sit, Stay, Read, where for kids who don't like to read, who are reluctant readers, and they read to dogs, to therapy dogs. And so it's a huge program. We have a lot of people who come. We have a lot of volunteers to help with that program because we have the animals, the therapy dogs there.
Well, if there's any way we can help get that word out, for volunteers of, in some way, let us know. I do know that since I moved here in 1984, a few years back, that there's, I don't know the numbers, but there's a lot of people still using the library. There's different reasons that they use the library now, but there's still a really robust, people walking in using digital services for various reasons. So thank you to you and your staff for all that they do, because they do a really good job.
Thank you. I think they're great. I mean, I'm an old librarian, and for as long as I've been a librarian, people have been telling me, oh, we're not going to need libraries anymore. It's just that you keep layering on new services.
Right.
So, the library is very busy. And my very first year at TCPL was the first year that the county funded a volunteer coordinator program to have someone help with volunteers because there was such a demand for help. And we developed a really robust volunteer program, and that's coming back now. We're starting to get that back.
And you still have the volunteer position?
It's done a different way. Instead of, we don't have the volunteer coordinator, that person left, we did not fill that. That's a savings, but we have, if you look at the program partners on the library website, you see how we're doing the volunteer program.
So I'll amend this to add in the volunteer. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Joking. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a vote on the amendment, Travis's amendment to the amendment, which reduces the amount to $49,000 to fund the senior clerk position. Ready to vote?
Yes.
Are you voting or are you
I'm
questioning?
voting. Let's vote.
Okay, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait a minute, start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 9 to 5, that passes. So that becomes the main motion, $49,000.
Did you vote?
I voted yes. Are ready to vote on this one? Those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8 to 6, that passes. So that was adopted. All right, we're going to take 10 minutes now. We're a little over. It's 7:30. We've still got some more to come back and do. Come back at about 7:48, 43 or something like that.
Thank you.
Something. Okay, we're back in session. Now, first and foremost, I was approached during the break by some people who think we should not push through tonight, but go to a meeting on Wednesday. I wonder what the legislature would like to do. So weigh in. Amanda?
I count we have 23 more amendments. I do not want to do all of those tonight. It's almost 8 o'clock, and as Rich always tells us, we make poorer and poorer decisions the later the night goes. There's absolutely no reason to rush through this, and by Wednesday, somebody else might want to put in more amendments. So I don't know why we would suddenly finish tonight when we barely just started.
Well, the past several years, we've done it in 2 years. Who else? Veronica?
Everything Amanda said, I agree with.
Just had to say here.
I think we haven't been overly crisp tonight, and
That's for sure.
I think there's a way to power through at least a little bit better than what we've been doing over the next, like, if we could, I don't know, what time is it, 8 o'clock?
No, it's about quarter of.
We finished this sheet?
I mean, if we could, maybe even go to like 9 o'clock and just power through. It'd be nice to see how far we got.
Can we just finish, is this the sheet we're working on?
Isn't there only 4 more?
But there's a lot more that have been submitted that aren't on this sheet, because someone correct me if I'm wrong, I think this sheet was printed under the assumption that we would in fact have a meeting on Wednesday to discuss more amendments.
Partial list.
Yep.
There's way more than this.
Yeah, I'm still putting amendments in.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could be done by next week sometime.
I have my right to, but at the very last minute on this vote,
Yeah.
right, and I put no amendments in.
All right. So I guess I'm hearing that we plan to go on Wednesday night as well. And so how late do we want to go tonight?
8:30.
8:30?
Yes.
Or now.
8.
8.
Go to 9.
I split it and go 8:30.
8:30.
All right, how many's for 8:30? I think that's where we're going. All right, let's get going again. So Dennis, I guess we won't be hearing from you until Wednesday. Thank you for being here.
Just point it, if Dennis is here, is there anything that we can't move?
Let's do this.
Well, I understand there was a late email that came from President Kremenek. I think we want to take a look at that.
Yeah, we have somebody here from the TC3, so.
Yeah. I already talked with him. He said he'd come back. Am I right? Thank you.
President Kremenek sent an email. I don't see it. It's important the legislature to see that.
Yes, if you, up to the microphone if you need to speak, please.
I believe that the President Kremenek sent an email today at about 3 o'clock, and it's critical for all the legislators to read that in order to form their opinion.
Thank you very much.
I don't have it.
I didn't get it.
No.
Right, I think that's the reason we have to wait for later, because someone has
Right,
it
it
and
was
is going to
sent
share it
to
with
the-
us. I don't have it.
Chairperson, to Mike, as well as to Corsa.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I haven't been back to look at my email. But if we could have that sent to the clerk.
I can send it tonight.
If you could just send it to
Right now.
Katrina McCloy, she'd make sure everybody got copies.
I'll send it today, right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Shauna, you've got number 11.
Yep.
$123,364 for an accountant position at the finance department.
Thank you. I would like to, move that position to add an accountant to the accounting department, 123,364 to hit target. And I would like to move that, please.
Seconded by Deborah.
And the thought behind this was that our accounting department, we've asked a lot of things from them over the past year, 2 years, and whenever Lori left, part of her exit interview was talking about how they're so very short in staff. And we wanted to wait till Daryl started so that he can come forth as the department head and tell us after review what was needed from that department. It sounds like over the next few years, we're trying to change how we're doing our accounting practices, which will actually need more positions. So this is one of probably just a few that are going to be coming in the upcoming years. Daryl, anything to add?
Thank you. Yes, I agree. We're shortly understaffed. I would just want to clarify which, because I did propose 2 accountant positions. One was in my treasury division and one was in my accounting division. I believe when asked, I said the treasury one was more important currently just due to the changes in the property tax law and the rental, sorry, it's getting late, the rental.
Long-term rentals.
Long-term rental.
Okay.
And also in addition to some of my plans moving forward, which is to increase our capacity to do better cash flow projections, more complex investing and all that, which requires hands in this position we would pick based on those skills, which hopefully, depending on other variables, will at the very least keep our interest income flat or as high as possible, depending on other variables.
Thank you. And just to confirm with Norma that that is for the treasury accountant position, the 123,364? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Amanda?
Could you gals down there at the end, could you put that in and show us what the percentage change would be? Oh, there it went. Thank you. 5.34%.
Greg?
Yeah, I think this is a critical department to support. We have asked them to do quite a bit. They are small but mighty. And I hope that with the addition of these positions, as we ask to maybe evaluate what centralizing our finance department and function looks like, these will help to be reasons why we can take on those activities, because I think we'll see a tremendous amount of cost savings and benefits. So I think that this is a slow trickle investment into a longer term strategy as it relates to this department. So even though it does have an impact on the levy, which I don't love, I will support this evening and support it when it comes for a final vote.
Randy?
Yeah, Daryl, I'm just curious, what do you think the major benefits would be for hiring this person?
The reason why I chose the Treasury Division is because during the 2025 tax cut, we removed a position. And during that time, we've seen an increase in administering and oversight when it comes to the real property tax law and the new room tax law that's coming into effect. So this will help keep them nice and consistent because they need the pair of hands to address the public. But mainly, the biggest benefit is going to help us improve our capacity of cash flowing and investments. Right now, they're kind of stretched thin to do the proper research and anticipate when funds are needed, proper cash flowing to utilize instruments like T-bills, CDs, and everything within our arsenal. Because otherwise, what we end up doing is relying on everything that's liquid, which is not always the best bet, but without proper cash flow, it's the safest.
I appreciate that. I think it is really important to manage our cash flow, and and plus it brings money in. So I agree with that. When are you going to do your next interest income report?
Are you talking about the
This is interest
investment one?
Right, yep.
It is done quarterly. It should be going to the next BCP for review.
Okay. I'm looking, and I meant to mention this to Norma and Daryl. I'm looking at our interest earnings for this year, and we've budgeted 2.3 million, and we might make that. You're going to be in that ballpark, I think, around 2.3 million this year for that earnings, maybe a little more. But you're only at 1.1 million now. So, but that's only through June, right? So but we budgeted 3.2 million, 1 million more, and interest rates are dropping. So I'm really concerned that that's a number that's going to be hard to reach. But I think a finance person to really manage it could help with that. But I'm not sure you're going to make that number. If you do, boy, you've done it really well. So.
I do want to add one thing. That investment report probably won't make it to the next BCP due to timeline, but it will be in the one after that, just because I don't have all the information for the end of the third quarter. I do think it is aggressive. I do think we'll see overall some interest gains in other funds as well, as we try to focus to improve our investment process and policy. So we may see a decrease in the general fund, which is the one we focus on, but we should see some increases in the other funds, which overall affect the county.
Yeah, I will support this position. It's important.
I wanted to say something, and that is I agree with exactly what Greg Mezzi said. You know, going back, I don't think there's any department that has had more authority given to it, more work given to it, probably is a better word to say, than finance, and has, over the years, really been understaffed. I think back to when Dave Squires was the director of finance for many years. Every year would come to us and say, I need a position for this or a position for that, and almost never got them. And I think it's important that we step up to this year, even as hard a year as it is, because administration, finance, the attorney's office, and certainly our clerk's office, have to do so much to support us and our whole county. I think it's important that we do this. Anyone else? All right, ready to vote? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? I have 2 opposed. That carries. Dan? Number 32, finance.
Thank you. I'd like to move number 32 to restore a budget cut in the facilities department at the rate of $40,000 in target.
Is there a second? Seconded by Veronica. Discussion. Go ahead, Dan.
Just that when Arel gave his budget presentation, he talked about the huge amount of money, lower amount of money that they had, not enough to even fix one roof. This isn't going to fix one roof. This is not meant to fix one roof. It's just an attempt to give a little back to the facilities department that is tasked with, every year we've added square footage.
Amanda.
So I guess I'm a little confused because, yes, I remember that, but there's no, now I can't find the page, but there's no like specific, there wasn't a specific reduction that's listed in this book anyway. Other than, there was 40,000 for a tractor.
Yes, that's it. So
this would go towards the tractor.
Yep. So my understanding was that there was quite a bit cut, and then some of it was restored, but not all of it. This would be the final $40,000 piece. And yes, that is the cost of the tractor.
So are you suggesting your 40,000 goes to that tractor? Because that's what's listed as unable to be supported.
Yes.
Okay.
Veronica?
The tractor request is listed as one time, but your amendment, at least on the paper, is listed as target. Can you help?
Good question. So I was treating it as restoring a cut, which is how it was worded in the book. So I'm not sure how to answer your question. It's a good question. I don't know the right answer.
Corsa or Norma? How should we treat this?
I think it will hit the tax levy this year, as I have said several times. We will evaluate our tax levy on an annual basis. So the fact that an item hit the tax levy as a one time doesn't mean the tax levy will stay where it is. So if we have one-time funding available, this is one of the things that can be funded with one-time funding. As at now, we haven't determined how much one-time funding we want to use. So it's okay to have it reflected in the tax levy, and then you can make a determination afterwards if we should push it somewhere else.
So it's in levy. It's in target.
Okay, other comments? Randy, then Rich.
Since we're on the facilities department, we had talked about, and a presentation was made to F&I, and how we're going to stretch $700,000 in their current budget to fix all the things that need to be fixed. And I think we realized pretty quickly $700,000 wasn't going to do that. And so we got data from Arel about what we needed to fix in the next 5 years. And we were talking about whether we would bond that. And so I'd like to see that information because is $700,000 sufficient? Is it $500,000 for the next 10 years? I'd like to know that. To make the decision like this when I don't know the rest of the dollars is difficult.
I think, so one of the things that we discussed, myself and Norma, is we have been paying for most of those maintenance over time with cash. So we intend moving into bonding for that major significant repairs. I think the initial numbers that we go will be about $550,000 in bond payment. So we believe moving into that direction, the $700,000 will be sufficient to cover that significant work that is being planned for 2026.
That'd be really helpful because it all adds up or it doesn't. So
yes.
Rich.
Yeah, I'm looking at the tax levy number, and this is one of these instances where I would support it if it was one time, and I understand all the arguments, but that number is creeping up, and it's scaring me. And I'm also trying to read minds and get a sense of the room on whether there'd be any appetite for the type of resolution we've done in the past, amendment to take money out of fund balance to reduce the levy and bring it down to a number that would be more palatable to our taxpayers. Is that something anybody would consider?
I'd rather do that
Ann
later,
Coleman?
if we're going to talk about that as recommended.
Yeah, I mean, it would help me to get a sense of the room. If you don't want to say, you don't have to say, but I'm probably going to vote against this as a result, because I just don't know where we're going.
Amanda?
I'm with Rich, I think a lot of people have said like 4% was their number, maybe 6% was their number. And if we just keep adding, are people going to vote against the budget? Or are they going to, is there going to be enough votes to use fund balance? I don't know. I felt pretty confused by Corsa's comment last week about, well, you can just take fund balance and lower the levy at the end. I don't know. I'm pretty confused this year, honestly, about the whole thing.
Rich, I guess what we're lacking is understanding, and maybe we can hear about it next time, but what is the procedure at the end for us to decide about fund balance use? Are you going to bring something to us and make a recommendation? Are we going to just have a proposal to use X number of dollars out of fund balance? What are we thinking about doing here? Let me just see if Corsa can answer.
Okay, I think at this point, what we have indicated is we have provided you what our total unassigned fund balance is. We can bring back that presentation for you to know how much that is. What is the percentage of that based on our policy right now? So the policy says 25%, which is about 56 million. So we are about 11.9 million below our target, our policy target. So you can make a decision, as I indicated, even though we are below the target, to determine, okay, even though we are below the target, we want to use A or B amount of money to cushion ourselves for this year. We haven't, based on the policy, we are supposed to be discussing how to build it back up. But we haven't had that conversation because of the difficult choices that we are making today. So if we are sent out to bring various options in terms of what, where you should make your decision, we are happy to present you, because for every percentage tax levy increase about 549,000. So you can make that decision around how much of that remaining unassigned fund balance do you want to tap into to cushion the tax levy. And you can do that. So that's what I was trying to clarify last week, to say that fund balance is not recurring revenue. It's money we have there for a rainy day. So if we use any amount from that rainy day account, we have decided that we want to have 3 months of expense cover. So if we use anything out of that money, there should be concerted effort to get it back to that 3 months expense cover. So that's what I was trying to explain today. But as the legislatures, you make decision what to do with it. There is no strict law that say you have to keep A or B amount of money. It's just a good thing to do, to have that reserve in place for emergencies and unplanned projects, expenses, or situations of that nature. So the ball is actually in your court at which direction you want to go. I believe in 2023, 2024, you chose which level fund balance we should keep. But if there's a desire to make the policy changes, you can do that. But it is not something I would recommend to do, even though we are making some difficult financial choices this year.
Okay, thank you. Travis. Oh, you passed? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Deborah.
Yeah, I don't understand your question, Mike. Every year that I've done this, someone on the legislature has, at the end of this process, said, let's change the sales tax estimate to X, and let's use Y amount of fund balance so we can keep the tax levy down. It's not come from administration. It has come from us.
Here, if I can respond, here's the problem I'm having, and it's, as Rich mentioned, and when we went through our amendments in the past, we've always talked about whether it's coming out of fund balance, whether it's a one-time money, or whether it's a target increase for the department. And we haven't done that here.
Because
and
we
so
don't
when
have
we got
fund
to
balance.
we got to the end, we knew how much we had allocated out of fund balance at that point from the amendments, and how much we had pushed over into target to increase the levy. So that's what I'm asking, that's my question, is since we aren't doing it that way, we just have to figure a lump sum.
Well, yes, because right from the get-go, Corsa has told us that we didn't have fund balance. But I will remind you as well that even though we have done that in the past, at the end, we always add fund balance.
Well, I understand.
Which is why we have so little fund balance.
And we debate about it, no question. But I tried to explain why I had the question. All right, anything else on the facilities? Greg.
I guess we were just talking about fund balance. I would like to see, rather than fund balance, the use of our reserves to fund what they're meant to fund for events such as this, like unemployment insurance, or, well, I forget what are the other list of 5. I know I have like a hard time remembering all of these. But whatever it is, let's use those to fund what we set them aside to use. That way we don't have to touch fund balance and we don't have to have this conversation. We can probably drop the levy by 2% if we just did that right now. So I think there's tools in our tool belt. There's money we set aside. But if we don't use the tools, we're going to get the house we built. And this is where we're at.
Anyone else? Lee?
Just a point, going back to the discussion about the deferred maintenance and the roofs and everything else that Morel is contending with. $40,000 would go a long way toward a bond payment if you were to capture some of those. And that may be something we need to think about a little further down the line, rather than throwing an incremental amount into the operating side of things.
Anyone else? Okay, on the proposal to add $40,000 to the target of the facilities, I guess with the understanding that it's probably going to go toward a tractor. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, that's not right. All those, let me see the ones in favor, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 to 4, that fails. Shauna, you've got $50,000 one-time money to go to a fund to encumber that amount of money to support food insecurity. Request to be handled through county departments. You want to move that?
Sure. I would like to move that.
Seconded by Travis. Please explain.
Sure. So we had 2 different requests through the Human Services Coalition that deal with food security, and I was discussing it with Norma, how we can prepare for what's coming in 2026. We know that many of our constituents will not receive their SNAP subsidies, and this seemed to be one of the best solutions for that. I think part of it is we don't know what to expect. We don't know what it's going to look like, what the need's going to be, and we don't know what agencies are going to be able to help the most for our constituents. I know during the pandemic, one thing that the food bank did was actually they started up at TC3, where cars would go around and pick up their bags of food, and it was super helpful. And fortunately, they were able to have the donations and the funds to do that. That's just, one example of a single agency that did something new during COVID. My assumption is whenever our community is hit with not having SNAP benefits, that there are going to be agencies that are going to be mindful and aware and start doing things in our community. So my thought was put $50,000 in a contingent fund, and people could come to us and make proposals of what to do with that funding.
Ann? Then Deborah?
Already seconded?
It was.
Oh.
Sorry, Ann was seconding.
Oh, was. I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Travis seconded.
Travis.
Travis already seconded it.
Then I'm speaking on it. That's what
Then
I'm
go.
doing. I'm glad to hear that it's going to be available, it'll come back, it'll be in contingent, so that we can decide whether it's the Food Bank of the Southern Tier or some other organization, because as I've said before, they get food at a really big discount. I can't remember the numbers and I didn't check, but something like 25% of what, if we were to give people vouchers to go to the store, they could get, probably 4 or 5 times as much. And they have the systems already set to deliver and keep track of folks. And so thank you. Probably need a little bit more, but that's a start.
Deborah?
So I'm unclear on this. Are you adding another $50,000 to the contingent fund, or are you simply creating an encumbrance within the existing fund?
An encumbrance. What essentially was happened with the cuts was that there was like $47,000 of food security money that was cut from Human Services Coalition. So essentially, this opens up the funds to be open to organizations that would provide that.
So this is pretty much budget neutral in a way.
In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not target, yeah.
And I think what ends up happening as well is that there was one that was the food safety, was it the food safety plan? That was not funded.
Okay.
And, whether that is something that's going to be super urgent need in January, February, March, or if we might want to give all of it to the food bank, depending on the scenario, I think we just need to be kind of nimble to some extent to see what's going to help people the most.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
And Klein?
That was the same question I had.
So, Randy?
Yeah, Sean, thank you for bringing this forward. I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal, and they said in the last 4 years, food's gone up 31% average. That's the thing, and that's a lot. And most people's salaries have not gone up that much. And the volume of people coming into the food banks is increasing as well. So I really appreciate you bringing this forward, and I'll vote for it.
Amanda?
Yeah, I guess, obviously, I want people to have food. I'm a little confused, like, who would be making the decisions? It sounds a little bit like our community recovery fund, which was a huge project. I guess I would just be more inclined to just give it to the food bank of the Southern Tier, who already is doing this work, rather than us trying to recreate the wheel and figure it out. But I guess I don't understand what the process is. Like, who's going to decide where that $50,000 goes?
Veronica, then Travis?
I guess I was kind of going to ask a similar question, because thank you for bringing this forward. Looking at just there were 3 food-related agencies, at least that I identified, that applied through the HSC and where the budget currently recommends less funding than the HSC recommended. Those are Community Food Coalition, Food Bank of the Southern Tier, Loaves and Fishes, and that discrepancy adds up to a little over $48,000, a similar amount. So my inclination would have been to propose funding those. But I guess I want to hear more of Shauna's rationale, and also like what would be the process. I like the idea of being nimble, but then I also worry that there would be like extra bureaucracy for the agencies when the crisis escalates. But I guess this is a question for Shauna, because you talked about it.
I haven't really thought out the process. However, it could be something just as easy as a paragraph, and then, HHS decides, where the funds go. I don't think it needs to be a whole RFP. I think it will be important for agencies to know about the money and the funding. We have a handful of agencies that I think would be interested in this funding. And I do think most of the food banks, from my knowledge, go through the food bank of the Southern Tier, because they drop off, they deliver, they get food super, super cheap. They reuse food that's donated to them. And so, more than likely it probably, would be the food bank. But I also think that, Anna Ortiz has a lot going on and really caters to a certain population. And so, I think we just need to be open, because there were whenever we went through COVID, there were a lot of agencies that were really off our radar that were providing great work, and they weren't in our budget. And, to some extent, they were kind of not really an option for county funding.
Travis?
I think it's kind of simple. I think we could put together a task force through HHS and figure out what this would look like. I wouldn't say it should all go to the food bank. Not everybody's part of the food bank. The food bank is of the Southern Tier. This would be money for folks in the county. There's a lot of different things that are going to happen over the next 12 to 13 months. after-school programs that provide dinners. There's camps that do lunch and dinners. A lot of that money is going to be gone because they get reimbursed for that. And if they're not getting reimbursed for that, there's no way that they could fund it themselves. I know at GIAC, for example, we do 30,000 meals a year. And if the USDA, if there's a clawback on those funds, we won't get reimbursed and we won't be able to do 30,000 meals a year. It might be 3,000, 10,000. So I think there's a lot of different needs we can expect, but I think we could put something together to present to you all to say this is what our plan is, and you all could say yay or nay. We could do a few versions, but I think that's something that we could take up at HHS.
Amanda?
Yeah, again, I appreciate it. I guess without a clear process, I'm not sure. I mean, we've talked a lot about, the HSC process and having these organizations have gone through that process, and we've cut back a lot on those organizations. And so for now us to say, but we have this other fund over here, that is a workaround. And why wouldn't we just fund more of the HSC and the people who already came to us asking for funding? So I feel like I would be more likely to support this amount of money given to the agencies that we've already, or the HSC has already heard from.
Norma, you wanted to speak?
If you don't mind, Sean. So we had talked about the fact that with the Human Services Coalition and the department heads, we intend to convene a group to have a conversation about kind of what we're doing with the agencies and how they, and so what we want to do is make sure we're not duplicating our services. And I think that was something that Shauna and I had talked about, which is why we were talking about putting these funds in the contingent fund, pending that conversation after the first of the year. But clearly identifying that we had put money aside for food insecurities so that we could better identify where those funds should go. Certainly, however you all want to do it, it's fine. I just wanted, that was the conversation that we had, and it's a bit like, I think we did this with transportation too. We had kind of set this aside at one point in time just in case we needed additional transportation funds, and it sat in the contingent fund just pending that request, and then it would of course come to the committee, to the program committee that it reports to.
My concern here is that we're not allocating another 50,000 into the contingent fund and then putting a rope around it. We're just taking 50,000 that's already been budgeted by the county administrator and saying, well, we're going to put a rope around that and use it.
It hasn't been budgeted, though.
Well, contingent fund has been budgeted.
It was not recommended in his budget.
The contingent fund? Or this 50,000?
Does your amendment involve adding 50,000?
I'm talking about the contingent fund overall. And what I'm saying is that when the last 2 or 3 years, we've run out of money in the contingent fund, and we probably will again this year. I remember one $800,000 item that we had to spend it on. And what we have to do to replenish it is we take it out of fund balance. And put it back in. So to me, I think this is a great idea to have this this task force that was just talked about. Is there anybody here who would want to vote against giving money for food insecurity? I doubt it. But I just think that once this task force has done the legwork, then they ought to come to the legislature, and the legislature should take it out of the contingent fund at that point. That's my feeling. Corsa?
I just want to clarify that in the recommended budget, we put in $3 million in contingent account. Are we adding 50,000 to it, or are we just keeping it at 3 million, but ring fencing 50,000 out of that 3 million for food insecurity?
That's right. It would just be an encumbrance inside the contingent fund.
But that's not what Shauna said. Shauna said she's adding $50,000. I don't know how we can vote on this till we know what we're voting on.
No, she didn't say that.
She said it hadn't been budgeted.
Well, whatever you said or didn't say, Shauna, what is it that you mean?
No, I did not know that it had been budgeted. It is currently.
There's $3 million, Shauna, there's $3 million budgeted for contingent fund.
Yeah.
No,
and
I get that.
You wanted to identify $50,000 of that contingent fund
Yes.
for food insecurity.
Yes, that's right.
That has not been done. That is what this amendment
Yes.
would do.
Yes,
It is
that makes
not
sense.
adding anything new to the contingent fund or the tax levy.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, the contingent fund will have,
$3 million.
It's
right,
the same amount,
but
yes.
50 of it.
Minus 50,000, which isn't really a minus, it's just earmarked.
Yes. Yeah,
Can I ask
that's
a
right.
point of information?
Reserved.
Point of information.
Can someone tell me the difference between 1990 and 1991, the account numbers, not the years? One is contingent fund and one is mandate contingent
Yeah,
fund.
1991 was set aside for mandates to cover any unexpected, well, initially we had some additional funds that came in. We set the, 1991 has been there right along. We had put those funds into the 1991 account. So we're setting aside funds that are really directed toward mandate expenses that we might go over.
So our real contingent fund is 1,250,000?
The
1.25?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, and then our mandated contingent fund is 1.75.
I haven't looked.
So that 1.75 can only be used for mandated costs unless we do a budget transfer?
It's not a reserve, so we could, yes, it could be a budget transfer.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready to vote on the proposal to put a fence around or a lasso around $50,000 in the contingent fund for waiting for proposals from our departments to use it for food insecurity? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to vote no. And against 2. 12 to 2, that passes.
Who was the other no?
Weren't you just the one that said who votes no against food insecurity?
Mike Lane and Amanda? Apparently it's Mike Lane.
I already said it.
There's an answer.
The 15th and
That was a
Marie Antoinette
question.
over
My money would have been on Deborah.
Question asked, question answered.
Hey, look, it's 8:30.
It's 8:30, let's go home.
At number 35, Dan Klein.
Yes, I'd like to move.
$1,500 for printing to the legislature.
Okay, 8:29, all right.
Yes, I'd like to move to add $1,500 to the clerk of the legislature's budget line for printing.
Seconded by Randy. Discussion.
We're going to have 2 new legislators next year. We still use an awful lot of paper. Katrina, would you like to say anything more?
We've gone over the last 5 years in that line, and I just had to do a budget transfer last week for GO to put more money in the printing line.
Way to go, Gio.
Gio.
Okay, ready to vote? Those in favor? Any opposed? One opposed.
That was less than a minute.
Who votes against print?
That's because he likes his
The one that
computer.
uses his iPad.
Vote yes. Greg?
That carries. Okay. Since we've made the decision to come back on Wednesday, we'll see you at 5 o'clock, and let's see if we can get this done. So, adjourned.
Okay.
Adjourned. Thanks, Rob.
It was on the screen.